subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Punched through a wall with his bare hands. And he was originally a top fighter in the world, even able to fight superheroes like Little Spider-Man, Punisher, and Daredevil. And Gene Bin's most famous record is probably beating Little Spider-Man to death with his bare hands. This is a major event in Marvel's plot. However, at the moment, it was such a crazy man holding a little boy by the hand, standing at the door of the villa with a kind face, and then rang the doorbell. Then he waited quietly. "Father, is Sue Uncle really back?" At this moment, the little boy who was held by Gene Bing suddenly asked. This little boy is none other than Gene Bing's son Richard. In the original plot, Richard should have died in an assassination. Since then, Gene Bing's temperament has changed drastically, and he has become the underworld emperor who makes the whole New York fear. But because of the appearance of Sue Ku, Richard survived. Although Gene Bin is still brutal, it is not as exaggerated as in the original plot. Apparently, Richard changed Kim, and definitely, it doesn't really matter. Yes, Richard, you'll see him soon. At this moment, Gene Bin suddenly squatted down and said to his son gently, perhaps in the eyes of outsiders, Gene Bin is a cruel and cold-blooded guy. But in the eyes of his family, Gene Bin has always been a kind person. At this moment, the door was opened, and then a figure suddenly appeared at the door. But with just one glance, Gene Bing frowned, because he didn't know the girl in front of him. That's right, it was none other than Wanda who opened the door. "Who are you?" Kim asked. Before Wanda could speak, a figure suddenly appeared at the window on the second floor. "It is Suka. Is it Gene Bin? Richard is here too." "Come Suka greeted from afar. When Gene Bing heard this, he immediately didn't care who the girl in front of him was, and just thought it was the woman brought back by Suka. Nodding to Wanda, Gene then walked in with Richard. At the same time, Suku just came down from the second floor. "Suunkle." The moment he saw Suku, Richard broke free from Gene Bin's hand and then rushed towards Suku, directly into Suku's arms. "Hello, Richard." Suku smiled slightly and then hugged Richard. Gene Bin smiled and said, "To tell you the truth, since you left last time, this kid has been clamoring to see you. I'm really sorry. I made you laugh." "Fine," Suku said with a smile. In fact, when Suku saw Richard, Richard was already close to death, almost the same as the previous Batman. It was Suku who used the power of Black Aura to save Richard's life. So Richard was also influenced by Black Aura, and as a demon, Suku is the representative of Black Aura, so Richard naturally likes Suku very much. Chapter 30 X-Men and Avengers. At the same time, seeing a guest coming, Wanda returned to the room consciously. After Wanda left, Gene Bin smiled and said, "What? Is this your woman?" "No." Suku shook his head. "It's the girl who accidentally rescued yesterday. He also has a younger brother. I plan to let them live here." Gene doesn't have any opinion on this. After all, he gave his villa to Suku. As long as Suku is willing, he doesn't care whoever lives in it. By the way, how did you think about the matter I mentioned earlier? At this moment, Gene Bin suddenly asked. When Suka heard this, he immediately laughed helplessly, because there's no need to think about it. He also knows that Gene Bin is talking about settling in Nyoyue. But to be honest, Suka really has no interest in this. He lives well in Gotham. Why did he move to New York City? Although New York's Hell's Kitchen is also an extremely chaotic place, it is much worse than Gotham, after all. So Suku is not planning to move from Gotham to New York. But just when he was about to reject Gene Bin, he suddenly looked at the room where Wanda lived. In an instant, a thought popped up in Suku's mind. Although he has taken in the Wanda siblings, according to Suku's understanding, they probably won't live here forever. After all, this really means eating and drinking for free, and the arrogant Wanda will definitely not agree. At that time, Wanda will definitely find ways to get out of here. And if he wants to keep Wanda, then he can only find a sense of belonging for Wanda as a powerful mutant. Joining the X-Men seems to be the best choice. After all, they're all mutants, there's no discrimination or anything. But soon, Suku dismissed the idea, because the Mutant Academy accepts some younger mutants. Those kids have access to a good education there and are very secure in terms of life. But don't forget, both Wanda and Quicksilver are adults, so if they get there, they will definitely not be treated as students. There's a high probability that he will be brainwashed by Professor X and join the X-Men, and then follow Professor X to save the world everywhere. From Suku's point of view, this is definitely a FG thing, because everyone knows that Professor X's behavior is simply stupid. He tried his best to please humans, but he couldn't bring about the slightest change for Mutant. In the end, Mutant will still be destroyed by humans. So, Suku didn't plan to let Wanda go to Mutant Academy. That being the case, joining the Avengers seems to be the best choice for Wanda. After all, in Marvel's original plot, Wanda is also an Avenger, but Suku still directly eliminated this option. He didn't want Wanda to be an Avenger, because as a demon, Suku was born to stand against all superheroes. Let Wanda join the Avengers, and then fight against himself one day in the future. Suku definitely won't do this kind of thing. Since neither of these methods work, Suku can only keep Wanda by his side first. Definitely can't take it to Gotham, because Gotham already has Harley and Selina. Those two guys are enough for me to have a headache. Add another Wanda, I can't handle it all. That being the case, it seems that there's only one way. So, Suku looked directly at Jean and said, "Although I still don't plan to move to New York, I'm very interested in opening a counseling clinic in New York. What do you think?" When he heard the first half of the sentence, Jean was inevitably a little disappointed. But when Jean Bing heard the second half of the sentence, his eyes lit up instantly. In the next second, Jean Bing said directly, "Tell me, where do you want to open your clinic? No matter where it is, I can do it for you." It's not that Jean Bing is bragging. As the emperor of the entire Niuyue underground, Jean Bing can do such a thing. Even if Suku wants to open the clinic next to the Stark building, Jean Bing can handle it. And the reason why Jean insisted on keeping Suku in Niuyue was because of his family in the final analysis. As a mafia boss, Jean Bing's enemies are all over the United States, and those people want Jean Bing's life all the time. Although Jean is not afraid of these people, he is worried that these people will hurt his family. When Richard was assassinated before, Jean Bing almost went crazy, but fortunately Suku appeared and Richard survived. From that day on, Jean Bing has always wanted to keep Suku by his side, but Suku has never agreed. Jean didn't even think about forcing Suku to stay, but he didn't know what happened. Whenever he had this idea in his heart, he would instantly feel an inexplicable fear. His intuition told him that if he really did this, then he would definitely pay a very painful price for it. Chapter 31, Wanda. Would you like to be my assistant? But now, these are no longer a problem. Although Suku just wanted to open a clinic in Niuyue City and didn't intend to live here, but since he opened a clinic here, he must come to see it occasionally, right? That's enough for Kim in the future if you or your family suffer any harm. You can get medical treatment in time, and that's why Kim doesn't want Suku to stay in Niuyue City. To put it bluntly, he was just worried about encountering what happened to Richard before. In his opinion, as long as Suku is around, his family is absolutely safe. Suku naturally knew what Jean Bing was thinking, but to be honest, he didn't really care. After a short thought, Suku finally spoke. "I want to open the clinic in Hell's Kitchen. What do you think?" Hell's Kitchen? Hearing this, Jean Bing laughed instantly, knowing that Hell's Kitchen is his territory. Suku wants to open a clinic here, which is a piece of cake for him. Even as long as Suku is willing, he can immediately vacate a shop for Suku. The reason why Suku made such a decision naturally has its own reasons. Although Hell's Kitchen is not as chaotic as Gotham, it is also the most chaotic place in the Marvel world, where dragons and snakes are mixed, full of evil and sin. If Suku had to pick one place to live in New York City, it would be Hell's Kitchen, because it's the perfect place for demons. In addition, Hell's Kitchen is Jean Bing's territory, and there are superhero guardians like Daredevil. Hydra dare not come in to catch Wanda and Quicksilver anyway. That is to say, Wanda and Quicksilver are absolutely safe there. Do you have time now? If you have time, I will take you to Hell's Kitchen right away. You can choose a store you like it will. At this moment, Jean suddenly spoke. Obviously, he couldn't wait, but Suku smiled and shook his head. Don't worry. Let's talk about it after I finish dealing with Gotham's affairs. Okay. Contact me anytime after you finish dealing with the matter over there. Jinbin nodded and said he also felt a little anxious. Immediately afterwards, Suko played with Richard for a while before seeing off the father and son. After Jinbin left, Suko called out Wanda and Quicksilver again. Suko went straight to the point. I want to open a psychological clinic in New York City, but I lack an assistant. Would you like to be my assistant? Suko looked at Wanda and asked. Wanda, who has telepathy, is simply a natural counselor because she can directly see through the patient's heart so as to give the most accurate treatment plan. However, Wanda was stunned when she heard this. Immediately afterwards, she looked at Suko in disbelief and asked, What do you mean? You're not really a psychiatrist, are you? Suko thought it was a bit funny, but he still explained, What I said before is true, but if you don't believe it, I also have a psychological clinic in Gotham. If I have time, I can take you to see it, but now please answer my question first. Would you like to be my assistant? Definitely. There must be a salary. The monthly salary is $10,000, and it includes food and housing. As soon as these words came out, Wanda's eyes suddenly became a little complicated, because Suko guessed right before, although Suko promised to let her live here with Quicksilver. But to be honest, Wanda has always been very uncomfortable. Accepting a gift from a stranger for no reason made them feel a loss. They even discussed it last night, and they will leave here as soon as they are sure it is safe. But now, when Suko suddenly said such words, they couldn't help but hesitate. After all, as far as the current situation is concerned, they really can't find a better place than here. And if you think about it carefully, as long as you agree to Suko, then they won't live for free, but get all of this with their own labor. Thinking of this, Wanda suddenly felt relieved. I promise you. Wanda looked at Suko and said seriously. Suko smiled slightly, and the matter was exactly as he thought. He knew that Wanda would definitely agree. After all, if it can be stabilized, who would want to run for his life? Okay, that's the deal. You guys stay here first, and I'll come and arrange things here after I finish dealing with Gotham's affairs. Suko said again, Wait, did you forget that I'm still there? Let me do something too. At this moment, Quicksilver said suddenly. Like Wanda, he doesn't want to be someone who does nothing. Suko glanced at Quicksilver and said, There is still a lack of a receptionist in the clinic, so you go to be the receptionist and protect your sister, by the way. Front desk. Hearing this, Quicksilver was speechless. It's too good for such a powerful super ability user to be assigned to be a receptionist. But when he thought that he didn't seem to have the right to choose at all, he finally agreed. In this way, Suko easily achieved his goal. Chapter 32 Nature Department. Dark Fruit. After arranging Wanda and Quicksilver, Suko turned and went back to the second floor. Harley hadn't woken up when he went downstairs before, but now Harley had woken up, but he was still lying on the wound with a tired look on his face. No way. The demon's ability is too strong, and it's Harley's first time, so she really worked hard last night. Seeing Suko came back, Harley blushed suddenly, and then said, Boss. Don't call me the boss in the future, just call me by my name. Before Harley could finish speaking, Suko interrupted her directly. Okay. Harley nodded after hearing this. At the same time, I felt sweet rice in my heart for a while. You must know that in the past, she didn't dare to call Suko by his name directly, but now that she is Suko's woman, she can naturally call Suko that way. Suko originally planned to return to Gotham after Harley woke up, but seeing Harley's appearance, he knew that he would not be able to go back today. Immediately afterwards, he looked at Harley and said, If you're tired, take a rest. I'll take you out for fun in the afternoon, and we'll go back to Gotham tomorrow. Harley's eyes lit up when she heard this, because she hadn't visited New York City yet. In this way, Suko finally disrupted the previous plan and did not return to Gotham today, but spent a good day with Harry. It was not until early the next morning that Suko took Harley back to Gotham. And when they returned to Gotham, it was already noon. The two found a restaurant at random, packed another lunch for Selina, and then returned to the clinic. However, when she saw Suko and Harley, Selina immediately exploded. She looked at Suko angrily and said, Boss, you don't keep your promise. You came back yesterday after you made an agreement. Why didn't you come back yesterday? Do you know that I waited for you in the store for a day yesterday, during which several patients came, and I couldn't treat them, so I had to drive them out. Facing Selina's questioning, Suka touched his chin in embarrassment, because this matter was indeed his fault. Sorry, I encountered some emergencies yesterday, so I didn't have time to come back. That's all Suka could say. Emergency? What emergency? Selina asked reluctantly. But before Suka could answer, Selina suddenly saw that Harley's expression was a little strange. Harley, what's wrong with you? Selina asked curiously. No, nothing. Harley smiled awkwardly, then trotted back to his office. Selina looked puzzled. Then what? We brought you lunch. You should hurry up and eat. In order to avoid more embarrassing things from happening, Suka hastily slipped away too. In the afternoon, several patients came to the door one after another, but they were all ordinary customers, so Suka handed over to Harley to deal with. Definitely he himself was not idle and received several criminals who were seriously injured by Batman. These guys could not help cursing Batman while lying on the operating table, howling in pain. Obviously, Batman is getting crazier these days. But Suka didn't care at all. After seeing off the last guest, Suka lay bored in his office again. At this moment, he suddenly thought of something and opened the system page. At the moment, a number suddenly appeared in the upper left corner of the system page. 2. Suka knew that this meant that he still had 2 chances to draw the lottery. Anyway, I have nothing to do now. Why not just try to draw a lottery? What if I can get something good? Thinking of this, Suka immediately shouted in his heart, System, I want to draw a lottery. Ding! The lottery is being drawn. Please wait. Ding! Congratulations to the host for winning the lottery. A piece of kelp. Ding! Congratulations to the host for winning the natural devil fruit from the world of One Piece. Dark fruit. Originally, when Suka heard that he got a piece of kelp in the first lottery draw, Suka wanted to complain, but unexpectedly, the system gave him a surprise in the next second. He actually got the devil fruit in the world of One Piece. It is also one of the strongest devil fruits. Natural department, dark fruit. For Suka, this is definitely something to be happy about, because the ability of the dark fruit matches his ability very well. The dark fruit has infinite gravity and space like a black hole from which even light cannot escape. It can suck in everything that comes into contact with darkness and compress and shatter it with infinite power. With such an ability, plus the original power of being a moon demon, there is no doubt that Suka's power should be further improved. Chapter 33, Super Soldier Serum and Compound Number 5. In Suka's view, the ability of dark fruit is tailor-made for him. So how could he not be happy? In the next second, in Suka's excited eyes, a devil fruit with a unique shape appeared in front of him, and it was the dark fruit. Without the slightest hesitation, Suka picked up the dark fruit and took a bite. Knowing that the taste of devil fruit is extremely unpalatable, he ate it without even chewing it. As for the remaining devil fruits, he ruthlessly threw them into the dustbin. Anyway, according to the description, this stuff only needs to be eaten in one bite. Sure enough, in the next second, Suka felt a special power in his body. This kind of power seems to be able to swallow everything in the world, and it can actually integrate with its original power. Simply perfect, but suddenly at this moment, Suka suddenly thought of another question. That is, it seems that devil fruit ability users are afraid of seawater, right? I don't know if the devil fruit rewarded by the system has this shortcoming. If so, it will be a bit troublesome. After all, as a moon demon, he didn't have any shortcomings. If he had a defect because of a devil fruit, it would be a bit F'd up. As if sensing his worry, the system sound rang again. Ding! Please rest assured, the host, but everything the host gets from the system is the most perfect thing without any shortcomings. That is to say, he simply obtained the ability of devil fruit without the disadvantage of devil fruit. This is definitely good news for Suka. At this moment, Suka suddenly saw the system points again. Every time he completed a task before, the system would give him corresponding system points. But Suka never used these points, because all along, he just wanted to survive in this world, and he didn't think about what to do. In addition, his original strength was strong enough, so he didn't think about buying anything. But now he suddenly had an idea. Although the things in the system store are useless to me, maybe there are some things that can make Harley and Selina stronger. After all, this is Gotham, and it doesn't seem like a bad thing for them to have power. At least they can protect themselves if they encounter any danger. Thinking of this, Suko immediately opened the system mall. After some searching, Suko quickly found what he wanted: Super Soldier Serum and Compound 5. Needless to say, the Super Soldier Serum, this thing is relatively tasteless, and Suko doesn't care. It was Compound number 5 that really interested Suko because he didn't expect such a thing to exist in the system store. To be honest, if it was up to Suko, Suko would definitely let Harley and Selina choose the Super Soldier Serum. Although the Super Soldier Serum will not bring any super ability, it will only greatly improve people's physical fitness and gain the strength of Captain America, but he is better than stability. Compound number 5 is different. Although he can give people various super abilities, the super abilities obtained are completely random. It is very likely that people will get some very tasteless abilities. Definitely, if you are very lucky, you may also get some abilities that are more against the sky, and you may even have the chance to get the same ability as Homelander. However, the chances of this are extremely small. Suka hesitated for a while and ended up buying a bottle of Super Soldier Serum and a bottle of Compound 5. He decides to hand the choice to Harley and Selina. It happened that at this time, it was already very late and there were no customers, so Suka called Harley and Selina directly to the office. When I saw Suka, Harley couldn't help but laughed, and Selina, who was watching aside, looked puzzled because she really didn't understand what happened. Poor Selina still doesn't know that these two guys in front of her are already together behind her back. Chapter 34, Invisible Catwoman. Cough, cough, cough. In order to avoid embarrassment, Su hastily coughed a few times and then said seriously, "I called you two here this time because I have something to tell you. I plan to open another psychological clinic in New York City, but you can rest assured that I will still be in Gotham most of the time. But considering that you may not be able to cope with some things when I'm always away, I have prepared some things for you," Suku said, and put the Super Soldier Serum and Compound number 5 on the table. "What is this?" Looking at the two medicine-like things in front of them, Selina and Harley were instantly curious. Suka patiently explained, "These two bottles of medicine, one of which is Super Soldier Serum. After drinking it, you can get the strength comparable to the Captain of the United States. And the other bottle is Compound number 5, which can make people get a super ability. However, this kind of super ability is completely random, and I can't guarantee what kind of super ability you will get after drinking it. It is possible to get a particularly weak ability, but it is also possible to get a very powerful ability. In short, everything is random. Now you two choose one. A friendly reminder to you. I actually recommend that you choose the Super Soldier Serum. Although the power he brings is not very strong, it can definitely give you the ability to protect yourself. Even when you meet Batman, you can beat him up. However, after listening to Suku's words, Harley and Selina looked at Suku in a daze. Obviously, this kind of thing is really unbelievable for them. But soon, Selina still reacted. After all, unlike Harley, Selina had seen Suku show his strength, and she knew that Suku was not joking. Just to confirm again, Selina still looked at Suku seriously, and then asked, "Boss, are you serious?" "Sunnuntai keskiviikko smelit slightly." Do you think I'm joking? Now, Selina can finally be sure that Suku is not joking. After looking back and forth between the two potions on the table, Selina finally chose Compound number 5. Think carefully. The super ability brought by Compound number 5 is completely random, and I can't be sure what power you will get. Suku reminded from his side. However, upon hearing this, Selina smiled slightly. "I'm willing to gamble." As a Catwoman in the DC universe, she always likes to take risks, such as the current situation. He is betting that he will get a super ability that suits him. Hearing this, Suku stopped persuading, but reminded, "If this is the case, let's start. As long as you drink the potion in your hand, you can get the super ability." "Selina, think about it. This is not a joke." Harley on the side couldn't help persuading. At the moment, Harley had already believed what Suku said before, but she was still a little worried about Selina. "Don't worry, Harley, trust me." After saying this with a smile, Selina immediately drank the number 5 compound in her hand. As the medicine began to flow into every part of her body, Selina soon noticed the changes in her body. "I can feel that there's really some power in my body. Selina murmured. Immediately after the next second, a strange thing happened. I saw that Selina's lower body began to become brighter, and not only the body became brighter, but also the clothes on her body became brighter. Immediately afterwards, Selina disappeared directly in front of Suku and Harley. What's the situation? Harley was stunned instantly. The scene just now shocked her to the extreme. Selina disappeared out of thin air. Only Suku looked thoughtful, because he already guessed that Selina seems to have obtained the power of the Invisible Man in the Super 7. And obviously, the power Selina got is stronger. After all, invisible people can't make their clothes invisible. Selina, where are you? Suddenly at this moment, Harley yelled. The next second, Selina's strange voice sounded. Harley, I'm over here. What are you looking at? Apparently, Selina hasn't figured out that she's got the super ability. Harley didn't explain, but directly took out a mirror and handed it to Selina, who couldn't see it. Selina took the mirror curiously, and after just one glance, she was taken aback. What's wrong with me? Selina said in a daze, and his figure appeared again in the next second. Suku smiled and said, Congratulations, Selina. It seems that you have obtained the invisible super ability. When Selina heard this, she was instantly ecstatic. After all, as a professional thief, this ability is really suitable for him. If he goes to steal things in the future, he doesn't have to worry about being discovered. This super ability is almost tailor-made for him. Chapter 35, What's the Situation? Suku killed Harley? Immediately afterwards, Selina continued to study the super ability she had just obtained. And Suku looked at Harley. It's your choice now, Harley. If Harley had some doubts about this before, then when he saw Selina's changes, Harley no longer had the slightest doubt in his heart. Although I don't know where Suku got this potion, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. However, just when Harley was about to make her own choice, she suddenly froze, because at the moment, there's only Super Soldier Serum left on the table in front of me. That is to say, she has no choice at all. In the next second, Harley looked at Suku suddenly with some resentment in his eyes. And Suku instantly understood what Harley meant. So in the next second, a bottle of Compound No. 5 appeared in front of Harley. This is what Suku just bought from the system store. Harley reached out to take Compound No. 5, and his expression became a little nervous, because she didn't know if she would get as powerful a super ability as Selina. Originally, choosing the Super Soldier Serum was the safest way, but when seeing Selina got such a super ability, Harley suddenly felt an inexplicable pressure in his heart. She felt that she could not lose to Selina, otherwise Selina would be by Suku's side in the future. Immediately afterwards, without the slightest hesitation, Harley directly drank the number 5 compound in his hand. When seeing this, Selina on the side also stopped studying her super ability, but watched the changes in Harley nervously, because she also wondered what kind of ability Harley would get. But this time the situation seems a bit special, because Harley's body hasn't changed at all. What happened? Selina looked at Suku with a puzzled expression. She didn't understand why the same potion didn't work for Harley. Suku was also a little speechless. He didn't expect such a thing to happen. Generally speaking, after taking Compound No. 5, you will get a kind of super ability. But why didn't Harley? At the same time, Harley didn't seem to feel any changes in her body. She said in frustration, It seems that my luck is bad. I didn't get any abilities. At the moment, Harley felt extremely uncomfortable. Selina stood aside and wanted to comfort Harley, but worried that her ability would make Harley even more sad, and she didn't know what to do for a while. At this moment, Suku suddenly noticed something and then looked at Harry thoughtfully. Although Harley's appearance remained unchanged, the demon's intuition told Suku that there was a force awakening within Harley. But to confirm, Suku still asked in his heart, System, can you tell me what kind of super ability Harley has obtained? In the next second, the system replied, Suku. When Suku heard the system's answer, a flash of surprise flashed across Suku's eyes. Immediately afterwards, Suku looked at Harley again. Harley. Suku called Harley's name and asked, Do you believe me? Although he didn't know why Suku would ask such a question, Harley still nodded. Definitely. With what happened to the contract before, Harley naturally had absolute trust in Suku. Very good. Suka nodded, then opened a side drawer and took out a pistol. Don't get me wrong, this gun doesn't belong to Suku, but it was given to him by the previous owner of this store when Suku was in this store. This is Gotham after all, and he thinks Suka needs a weapon. But obviously, he thought too much. With Suku's strength, there is no need for such a thing at all. All these guns have been eating ashes in the drawer for a long time. Until now, Suku decided to use this gun to test Harley's super ability. But when they saw Suku took out a gun, Harley and Selina were stunned. "Boss, what do you want to do?" Selina asked nervously. Suku ignored Selina, but looked at Harley again. Immediately afterwards, under Harley's puzzled eyes, Suku directly pulled the trigger on Harley. At this moment, Selina was going crazy. What's the situation? Suku actually killed Harley? Chapter 36. Congratulations. Your bodies are bulletproof. Boss, you are crazy. The next second, Selina shouted loudly. She never thought that Suku would do such a thing. But just as she was about to rush over to check Harley's injuries, she found that Suku's gun was pointed at her. "Sorry, I almost forgot about you." After saying this, Suku pulled the trigger again. At this moment, Selina was completely stunned. She never imagined that Suku would treat herself like this. Boom! Immediately afterwards, a bullet hit her in an instant. Selina's mind went blank for an instant. She couldn't figure out what was going on with all this. Suku obviously wanted to give them super abilities just now. Why did she want to kill them in the next second? But at the moment, it seems that none of this matters because she is going to die soon. For a moment, Selina closed her eyes in despair. Boom! Feeling the bullet hit her shoulder, Selina felt even more desperate, but she didn't realize that the moment the bullet hit her again, it bounced off. Snapped! But then there was another sound. This time, Selina suddenly noticed something was wrong. It was obviously just a bullet. Why did it make 3 bursts of sound? And the last voice is so weird. Like the holy sound of a vase being shattered. Also, wasn't he hit by a bullet? Why doesn't it hurt at all? Slowly opening her eyes, Selina saw that Suku suddenly walked to the corner without knowing when, holding a broken vase in his hand. "This is an antique. It's very expensive, and I'll deduct your salary," Suku said with some distress. "What's the situation?" Selina was dumbfounded, unable to figure out what was going on. The next second, she suddenly thought of something again and then hurriedly checked her shoulder. I saw that although the clothes on her shoulders were slightly torn, she herself was not hurt at all. Looking at the broken vase not far away, Selina suddenly had a bold hypothesis. Could it be that after Suku's bullet hit him just now, it was actually bounced off and smashed the vase? But this is too unbelievable, right? Selina. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. It was Harley's voice. Hearing Harley speak, Selina didn't bother to worry about what happened just now and rushed over to check Harley's wounds. In the next second, she froze because she saw Harley suddenly spread his palm, and in the center of the palm was a bullet that had been shape-shifted. "I just seemed to catch a bullet," Harley said with a look of disbelief. Selina didn't speak, but suddenly looked up at Suku, and then Harley also looked at Suku. They have already realized that the reason why Suku did that just now was to test their super ability. "Congratulations, your bodies are bulletproof." Harley and Selina didn't know whether to cry or laugh when they heard this. Although they are very happy to have such abilities, isn't Suku's method of testing too violent? You know, they really wanted to kill them because of Suku just now. "Boss, you're such ABD. Can't you tell us in advance about this kind of thing? I really thought you were going to kill us just now," Selina said angrily. Harley didn't say anything, but looked excited because it was obvious that she got the super ability as she wished. "I can't help it. If I told you in advance that your body can prevent eggs, and then I want to try shooting, would you be willing?" Suku smiled. Selina was speechless for a while, because to be honest, she would definitely not be willing. So, she seems to have to thank Suku for shooting herself just now. There seems to be nothing wrong, but there is always something wrong. Immediately afterwards, Suku helped Harley test her other abilities. Sure enough, similar to what Suku thought, the bulletproof body is only the most basic ability. In addition, Harley also has super strength and super defense, as well as super speed. Apart from not being able to hide, Harley beats Selina's super ability in almost every aspect. This is actually a very normal thing, because what Harley got was Queen Maeve's ability, right? Is Queen Maeve, known as the low-profile version of Wonder Woman in the Super 7. And that's why Suku shot Harley directly. After all, Queen Maeve's ability was not built. Chapter 37: Chaotic Hell's Kitchen. After a little familiarity with their respective abilities, Selina and Harley suddenly looked at Suku in a different way. Although Selina knew early on that Suku's identity was not simple, and she also possessed special powers. But she never thought that Suku not only has super soldier serum that can turn humans into super soldiers. There's even Compound 5 that can turn humans into superhumans. This simply made her unbelievable. As for Harley, I'm even more curious. Immediately afterwards, Selina suddenly thought of something again and asked, "Boss, you should have used compound number 5, right? Then what kind of super ability did you get? Did your previous strength come from this potion?" In Selina's opinion, since Suku is willing to give them this potion, Suku must have drunk compound number 5 long ago, and also got super ability. Harley at the side became even more curious when she heard this, because to be honest, she had never seen Suku show her strength. But when hearing this, Suku shook his head. "My strength does not come from anything else, but from me originally, and you will know later." Selina and Harley were speechless when they heard this. But soon, they fell into the joy of getting the super ability. Time passed quickly, and it was night in a blink of an eye. After Suku washed up briefly, he was ready to go back to the Wound and rest. He planned to go to New York tomorrow to find Kim and talk about the psychological clinic. Boom, boom, boom. But at this moment, a knock on the door suddenly rang. When I opened the door, it was none other than Harley. "How did you come?" Suko asked with a smile. Harley said as he walked into the room. Selina said at night that she wanted to find a place to try her super ability, so she left me at home alone. But I can't sleep alone, so I came to you. When Suka heard this, he was instantly speechless, because he knew that Selina's so-called trying super abilities should be to steal things. It seems that tonight, a certain rich man in Gotham City will suffer again. Definitely, it has nothing to do with Suku and Harley. With the previous things, there is no need to say redundant words. The two looked at each other, and there was another battle in an instant. Considering that Harley is just an ordinary human being, Suka didn't dare to go too far. But now, Harley has obtained Queen Maeve's ability, and her physical fitness has been strengthened like never before. So, Suka naturally has nothing to worry about. After tossing, the two lay on the wound, and Suka said while enchanting Harley's hair, "I'm going to New York tomorrow, and I'll leave Gotham to you and Selina. Please feel free to contact me if you have any trouble." "Definitely, I promise. I'll be back soon." Although he was very reluctant to let Suka leave, Harley still nodded obediently. The next morning, after having breakfast with Harley, Suka drove to Hell's Kitchen in New York. Sure enough, it was almost as imagined. Although Hell's Kitchen was not as chaotic as Gotham, it was not much worse. In less than 10 minutes, Suku saw 2 robberies and 1 shooting. Smelling the chaos in the air, Suku, who is a demon, is very satisfied. Soon, Suku came to Jean Bin's lair. This place is located in the deepest part of Hell's Kitchen, and the surrounding streets are firmly controlled by Jean Bin. Usually, no one dares to approach this place. Even those superheroes who are enemies with Jean will not come to this area rashly. Because I called Jean Bin before, Jean Bin was waiting for Suku early in the morning. After greeting Jean Bin's family, Suku followed Jean Bin to Jean Bin's office. Jean was not polite and directly took out a few documents and then handed them to Suku. Suku took a look and found that these were some introduction materials about houses, and all the addresses were Hell's Kitchen. These are all good locations in my opinion. You can pick any one. Definitely, if you don't like it, I can find other places for you. In short, I will definitely satisfy you." Kim smiled. Suka didn't speak but looked at Jean Bin curiously, or more precisely, looked at Jean Bin's neck. Although Jean Bin had deliberately covered his neck with his collar, Suku still found a wound on Jean Bin's neck. Obviously, Kim was injured. Chapter 38. All villains are chaos makers. What happened to your neck? Sunnuntai keskiviikko askid curiously. He could tell at a glance that the wound on Gene Bing's neck was burned by flames. But as far as he knows, Gene Bing's enemies are nothing more than Spider-Man, Daredevil, Punisher, and the like. These guys shouldn't be able to do such damage to Gene Bing, right? Hearing this, Gene Bin first touched the wound on his neck and then said indifferently, "It's nothing, I just had a little conflict with the Fantastic Four before, and I accidentally got hurt." Fantastic Four? Suku suddenly realized, he suddenly remembered that it seems that the Fantastic Four are also one of Gene Bin's enemies. But having said that, Gene Bing is probably the only one who dares to do so with a mortal body against 4 superpowers. For Suku, all the villains are creating chaos. Because of their existence, the power of Black Aura will become stronger. And this is why Suku chose to help Gene Bing in the first place. He is willing to help all the villains, because only in this way, Black Aura will be stronger. And as long as Black Aura becomes stronger, so will the demons. So at the moment, Suku felt that he should do something. In the next second, Suku's heart moved, and the super soldier serum that Harley and Selena disliked before suddenly appeared in Suku's hands. But this is not enough. As a result, the Black Aura, which belongs to the devil alone, began to be mixed into the super soldier serum from Suku. In an instant, the light blue potion completely turned into a pitch black potion, just like black poison. The super soldier serum, transformed by Black Aura, will give people stronger strength and endurance, and also have super self-healing ability. Definitely, it will also completely change people's mind, making people even crazier. But that's exactly what Suku wants. Drink it. Suku directly handed the transformed super soldier serum to Gene Bin. Gene Bing was slightly taken aback and did not pick up the potion in Suku's hand because, in his opinion, the black potion was too weird. It's like a tube of poison. This is a gift that can make you stronger. If you refuse, then you will definitely regret it. Suku said slowly. Hearing this, Gene Bing's eyes instantly changed. Immediately afterwards, he reached out and took the medicine in Suku's hand. Although we haven't known Suku for a long time, since Suku rescued his son Richard, Gene Bing has believed in Suku without reservation. He felt that Suku would not hurt him. So after a few seconds of hesitation, Gene Bing still drank the black potion in his hand. In the next second, a strange feeling suddenly rose in Gene Bing's heart. Although the appearance didn't seem to change much, Gene Bing felt that his strength had increased several times. Picking up the metal ornament on the table, with a little force, the metal ornament instantly turned into a pile of scrap iron. Immediately afterwards, the wound on the neck suddenly felt a little frightened. Gene Bing walked quickly to the mirror and then saw that the wound on his neck was recovering at a speed that could be seen by meat rocks. In just a few seconds, the terrible burns from before were completely healed. What a wonderful power! Gene Bing stood in front of the mirror, touching the wound on his neck that had long since disappeared with a sigh. He suddenly felt that the choice just now was really wise. If he rejected Suku at that time, it would be equivalent to rejecting such power. I'm curious, who are you? Gene turned around and looked at Suku. Although he knew that Suku's identity was not just a psychiatrist early on, but this time the incident far surpassed his cognition. I said this question a long time ago. I'm just a psychiatrist. Suku smiled slightly and then handed a document to Gene Bing. That's all. Help me get it done as soon as possible. Although he was still full of doubts, when he thought that Suku not only saved his son's life, but even gave him such powerful power, Gene Bin immediately didn't care much. He took a look at the documents, then nodded and said, "Give me 2 days. I promise you can open the business smoothly in 2 days." After discussing about the store, Suku left immediately. As for Gene Bing, he is already thinking about going to that unlucky ghost tonight to try his new power. Chapter 39. The Holy Lord makes a big fuss in New York City. Leaving Hell's Kitchen, Suku went straight to the villa where Wanda and Quicksilver lived. He doesn't plan to go back to Gotham these days, he will stay in Nuyo for a few days first. Because of the previous conversation, Wanda and Quicksilver finally gave up the idea of leaving, but lived here with peace of mind. When Suku came over, he even saw Wanda cooking. "Do you want something to eat?" Seeing Suku, Wanda greeted her warmly. No way. When she promised Suku would be his assistant, Suku had already become her boss. And as an employee, it is also necessary to care about the boss. Although Suku at the moment was not hungry, she finally nodded when she thought that this was Wanda's cooking. So, a few minutes later, Suku sat down with Wanda and Quicksilver and had lunch together. Wanda serves a standard American lunch, a fried steak with a sandwich and a glass of juice. When I was in Gotham, Suku mostly ate Chinese food, but now it's time for a change. After cutting off a piece of steak and putting it in the import, Suku said, "I've already chosen the location of the psychological clinic. It's in Hell's Kitchen. It should be ready to open in 2 days at most." Hell's Kitchen? Wanda seemed a little surprised when she heard this. Immediately afterwards, she couldn't help asking, "Why did you choose that place? As far as I know, that place should be the most chaotic place in the whole New York, right?" "That's right." Suka nodded. "Hell's Kitchen is the messiest place in New York. But for me, it's the best place because my clients are generally not nice people." Forehead. When Wanda heard this, she didn't know what to say for a while. She suddenly felt that she seemed to be on a thief ship. Suddenly at this moment, a piece of news was broadcast on the TV. Report from the script station. A demon named Holy Master suddenly appeared in the city of Nuyo, causing great panic. Although SHILD arrived in time, it still couldn't stop the demon from destroying. We don't know exactly where this demon came from, but his destructive power is beyond doubt. The latest news, Iron Man Tony Stark is on his way. I wonder if he can stop this demon. Immediately afterwards, a screen appeared. Impressively, it is the Holy Master who is making a big fuss in New York City. When seeing this scene, Suku was a little speechless. He originally thought that it would be rare for the Holy Master to regain his freedom, so he would definitely keep a low profile, but who would have thought of it? The Lord is actually making a big fuss in New York City, and it's even on the news. Is this guy worried that Dad, an ancient one magician, won't find him? It's hell. Suka shook his head and ignored it. But this scene caught Wanda's attention. "I didn't expect that there are really demons in this world," Wanda said with a look of emotion. Hearing this, Suka just smiled and didn't say anything. If Wanda knew that the person sitting next to her was a demon, what expression would she have? While Suku was eating with the Wanda siblings, SHILD headquarters, Nick Fury was staring at the picture on the screen with pain on his face. And what is displayed on the screen is a dragon-shaped creature that only exists in legends. Definitely, he also has a name. Demon of Fire. Holy Lord. Just by the name, you can tell that this guy must be very difficult to deal with. But Nick couldn't figure out, how could there be such a monster in the world? Definitely, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. After discovering the Lord, SHILD acted quickly. Nick first sent a team of agents, but unexpectedly, the demon who claimed to be the Holy Lord killed all the agents in a flash. Nick realized the seriousness of the matter, and then he was going to contact Tony, asking Tony to help deal with this matter. As a result, Tony had already set off before he could contact him. Counting the time, it's almost time to hand over to the Holy Master. Nick took out a walkie-talkie, and after hesitation for a while, he asked, "Tony, how's the situation over there?" Soon, a voice rang out. "To be honest, it's not that good. It's also my first time dealing with demons, but don't worry, I've contacted professionals, and they should be here soon." It was none other than Tony Stark who was fighting the Holy Lord. Although he knew about the existence of the Holy Master long ago, he even almost got a spell from the Holy Master. But to be honest, Tony really didn't expect to meet this legendary demon in New York City. Chapter 40, Goblins, Goblins, Go Away, Goblins, Goblins. At the same time, Tony also guessed at this moment. The spell that I almost got before should be in the hands of the Holy Master now. Otherwise, the current Holy Master should still be just a coiling dragon statue. "Hello, Holy Master. You seem to have taken my things. It took me a whole 100 million to take pictures of that rat charm. If possible, I hope you can return it to me." While attacking the Lord, Tony couldn't help but tease him. The Lord casually grabbed the car next to him and threw it at Tony, then sneered, "You humble human, my spell is not something you can get your hands on." "Really? If you say that, then I'm even more interested." Tony sideways avoided the Holy Lord's attack, and then teased the Holy Lord again. Sure enough, the Lord was enraged again, and more cars smashed towards Tony. Tony dodged one by one again, and then hurriedly got JRVS to call a number. After the call was connected, Tony couldn't help urging, "I said, Dad, when are you coming? I might not be able to hold on after a while." In the next second, an old man's voice sounded, "Don't rush. Dad will be here soon. Do you think demons can be sealed easily? Dad needs to prepare a lot of things." The person who spoke was none other than the father in Chunlong's adventures. At the moment, Dad is rushing here on a plane from District 13, and Xiaoyu and Chunlong are also here. As for why Tony knew Papa and the others, it was naturally because the book about demons was bought from Papa's store. Also because of this relationship, Tony learned a lot about demons from his father. So, after knowing that the Holy Lord was really resurrected and appeared in Nuyo, Tony immediately contacted Dad. Then, the 13th District also took action, sending a plane to send Dad and the others to New York and prepare to seal the Lord. After all, in the eyes of everyone, hell is the only destination for a devil like the Lord. And before Dad and the others arrived here, Tony could only think of a way to delay the Lord. After all, according to the old man, demons are immortal, and only the seal can completely defeat the demons. But if you think that the Holy Master is violent in front of everyone for no reason, then you are wrong. Because at the moment, although the Holy Lord is making a big fuss in New York City, at a place 1 kilometer away from here, Walloon and the others are cracking the password of a vault. That's right. Not only Tony is stalling for time, even the Lord is stalling for time. Or to be more precise, the reason why the Holy Master chose to make a fuss here was entirely to buy time for Valen and the others. It turned out that as early as yesterday, the Lord discovered that a spell had appeared in an underground vault in Nuyo. But according to Valen's understanding, the security measures in that vault are too tight, and the vault is buried deep underground. Even the Holy Master can't force it open. And once discovered, the police will arrive at the scene within 5 minutes. At that time, everything will fall short. The Holy Master was very disdainful at first, but still wanted to take back his spell by force. But at this time, Valen suddenly thought of an idea. If the Lord can make a scene in New York City and attract everyone's attention, then there will be enough time for them to crack the vault and get the spell. Although the Holy Master felt that it was unnecessary to do so, he had to admit that this was the safest way. Ever since, the Holy Master also agreed to this Wallon's attention. And then, here's the scene right now. Suddenly at this moment, several figures appeared not far away. One of them was an old man, a little girl, and a grown man. With just one glance, the Holy Master noticed the powerful magical aura emanating from the old man. Obviously, the old man is a magician. Ghosts, goblins, go away, goblins, goblins, go away, goblins, goblins. As the figure of the old man got closer, spells suddenly exploded in the ears of the Holy Master. At this moment, Holy Master's face finally became ugly, because he knew that the old man not far away was not only a magician, but also a magician who mastered sealing magic. Damn it, I didn't expect that there are still people in this world who can use sealing magic. The Holy Master hated his teeth so much, but there was nothing he could do. But suddenly at this moment, not far away, several familiar figures were rushing towards him. It was Valen and the others. "Holy Lord, we got it. This time it's a chicken charm." Wallen yelled loudly. He was holding a spell in his hand. It was a chicken spell. It really succeeded? Seeing this scene, Holy Master felt ecstasy instantly, and at the same time couldn't help giving Wallong a high look. Then the Lord shouted, "Valen, give me the spell." Upon hearing this, Valen threw the spell in his hand at the Holy Master without any hesitation. Chapter 41, Pig Charm and Dog Charm. Oops, got it. It turns out that the real goal of the Holy Lord is the spell. The reason for making such a big fuss about Button was just to delay time. When seeing this scene, Tony understood everything in an instant. He rushed forward to grab the talisman, but it was still a step too late. I saw the Holy Master jumped up suddenly and then grabbed the chicken spell. Immediately afterwards, the chicken charm instantly merged into the body of the Holy Master. Sensing the power in his body, Holy Master burst out laughing instantly. Ha ha, stupid human beings. You can't stop me. When we meet next time, I will definitely kill you. After the harsh words, the Holy Master flew directly to Valen and the others. As soon as the tail rolled, it rolled up Walong and the others, and then flew up no matter how Walong and the others wailed. The chicken charm gave the Lord the ability of flight, so he quickly disappeared into the distance. Seeing the Holy Master escape, the old man immediately looked annoyed. But he has no choice, because the sealing spell has strong limitations, and it must be close to the Holy Master. And now that the Holy Master has escaped, he can't continue to seal it at all. Tony also looked helpless. You must know that he can't beat the Holy Master who has one spell, not to mention the current Holy Master has got 2 spells. Even if he catches up with the Holy Lord, he is no match for the Holy Lord at all. Ever since they could only watch the Holy Master leave, Tony came in front of his father and said helplessly, "Father, if you had come earlier, maybe we could really kill the Holy Master." "It's not killing," the old man corrected. "It's a seal. Demons cannot be killed. They can only be sealed." After saying this, the old man suddenly had another headache because he didn't expect the Holy Master to be resurrected. "Forget it, Dad. Don't be too disappointed. The Holy Master is obviously looking for his 12 spells now. As long as we can find the remaining spells before the Holy Master, we can stop the Holy Master." Chunlong at the side hurriedly comforted him. "That's right. Father, next time we will definitely defeat the Holy Master." "And aren't the pig and dog charms in the 13th district? The Holy Master must not be able to get these 2 charms." Xiaoyu also said on the side, "Etc. Pig spells and dog spells." When Tony on the side heard this, he immediately regained his energy, because he never thought that there are actually 2 charms in District 13. Although I don't know what the functions of these 2 charms are, it is obvious that the Holy Master will find a way to get these 2 charms. And to be honest, Tony is also full of interest in the power of spells. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent 100 million to buy rat spells before. Ever since, Tony said directly, "Father, if possible, can you contact the boss of District 13 for me? I want to discuss with him and lend me the 2 charms to study." "I disagree." Before Dad could speak, a man's voice suddenly came from not far away. Tony looked back and saw a bald man walking towards them. Another bald head? When I saw the bald head in front of me, I didn't know what was going on, but I immediately thought of Nick. Jackie Chan introduced from the side. "Tony, this is Inspector Lake from District 13. He is the boss of District 13, and District 13 is managed by him." Hearing this, Tony knew that the manager was here, so he walked over to Bulake and said, "Inspector Bulake, you should know that with the power of the Holy Lord, it is easy to break through the 13th district. It is not safe to put the spell in the 13th district, so I suggest you give me the spell. Definitely, I promise to put the spell in SHIELD for safekeeping." Spells are absolutely safe in SHIELD. However, when Bulake heard this, he became angry instantly, because what Tony meant by saying this was not only looking down on him, but also looking down on the entire District 13. That's right, the 13th district is not as rich and powerful as SHIELD, but it is still an official organization. So how can Tony slander it so much? But considering Tony's status, Lake was not easy to get angry, but coldly refused. "I don't agree. Don't talk about this matter in the future." But Tony didn't intend to give up. Just as he was about to say something, Nick's voice suddenly came from the intercom. "Tony, bring all the guests to SHIELD. The matter of the Holy Lord is no longer something that one person or an organization can handle. We must combine all our strengths to deal with the Lord, and SHIELD will provide you with all the help." When Bulake heard this, he was immediately upset, because he thinks he can handle the affairs of the Holy Lord well. Chapter 42. What? There are 7 other demons like Holy Lord? It's just obvious that Bulake is definitely overconfident, because in the original plot of Chun Long's adventures, the Lord has broken through the 13th district more than once. Even Jade can easily invade Area 13. Although Bo Lake didn't care much about Nick's words, Dad seemed very interested. Then Dad said, "Holy Master is an ancient demon with great power and even ruled the entire world thousands of years ago. His power is far beyond our imagination. If we want to defeat the Holy Lord, we must unite. And don't forget, the Lord is not the only demon in this world. If the Lord can escape from hell, then other demons may also escape from hell. So we need to be prepared for everything." The implication of these words is that I plan to go to SHIELD for a trip. After hearing this, Bulake couldn't say anything. "Oye, we're going to SHIELD. When Xiaoyu heard this, she immediately shouted happily. You must know that although she often goes to District 13 with Chun Long, she has never been a shield. Ever since, everyone took the plane in Area 13 again, and then flew to SHIELD. When they arrived at SHIELD, Nick was already waiting at the door. It is worth mentioning that the current SHIELD has not officially launched the space carrier, so their headquarters is actually an underground base located in New York. It is located in a remote place, and it is very secretive, and ordinary people cannot find it at all. "Hello, I'm Nick Fury, Director of SHIELD. Nick introduced himself first, and then the others also introduced themselves. After getting to know each other briefly, Nick brought everyone to the meeting room of SHIELD. "Father, can you tell us what kind of demon the Lord is?" Nick asked straight to the point. The appearance of the Holy Lord really made him feel huge amounts of pressure. He had to know everything about the Holy Lord before he could make a plan to deal with the Holy Lord. After hearing this, the old man slowly talked about the Holy Master and other demons. Immediately afterwards, Nick learned everything about the Lord. The Holy Lord is the fire demon among the 8 great demons. In ancient times, he once ruled the entire Yajo. He is not only a powerful demon, but also possesses 12 powerful spells, which can bring him 12 different powers. And there's not only the Holy Lord as a demon in this world. The Holy Lord is just one of the 8 great demons. These 8 demons once ruled the 7 continents, oceans, and moons of the earth in ancient times. Each demon has its own territory and dominates the entire world. Each of them has different and powerful supernatural powers, representing fire, sky, moon, lightning, land, mountains, hurricanes, and sea water. The demons rule the whole world and do almost all kinds of evil, until the unknown death god appears, which defeats the demons. After defeating the demons, the unknown death god drove them into a different dimension completely isolated from the human world with a powerful force called Demon Hell. Since then, the demons have been completely sealed in hell. But every demon has its own gate of hell. As long as a treasure called Panka Treasure Box is used at a designated location, the demon's gate of hell can be opened and the demon released. But the demons can't escape through the gate of hell at all, because the Panka Treasure Box was left in the world by an unknown death god, and the demons can't touch it at all. I just don't know why, but the Holy Master still escaped. And the appearance of the Holy Lord means that other demons may also appear. When the 8 great demons come to the world will be ruled by demons again. After listening to the old man's narration, Chun Long and the others felt better, because they knew about this kind of thing early on. But Nick and Tony were terrified. One demon is so difficult to deal with. And you tell me there are 7 more demons like this? How is this Nima playing? Chapter 43 Xiaoyu is going to do something again. Although at the moment, Nick had a terrible headache, but as the director of SHIELD, he quickly reacted. Because no matter what, the emergence of demons is already a fact. Instead of getting entangled here, it is better to find a way to deal with the devil. Ever since, he looked at his father and said, "Father, let's not talk about other demons. After all, they should still be in hell. Let's talk about the Holy Lord who appeared in New York City first. According to what you said, the Holy Master should want to get the 12 talismans that belong to him, right?" "That's right." Dad nodded. The 12 talismans are treasures belonging to the Holy Master. Only by obtaining the 12 talismans can the Holy Master's power be restored. So he must get the 12 talismans. So how many spells did the Holy Master get now? Nick asked again. I know. Holy Master has got 2 spells now. Before the old man could speak, Xiaoyu, who was beside him, suddenly spoke. The Holy Lord got the rat charm and the chicken charm. The rat charm can make the Holy Lord free, and the chicken charm can let the Holy Lord get the flight ability. Dad nodded, indicating that Xiaoyu was right. In addition, there are 2 talismans that have been stored in the 13th area, and they are very safe. No one needs to intervene. At this moment, Lake on the side said. Clearly, Lake was somewhat reluctant to work with S.H.I.E.L.D. But Nick is not angry, because strictly speaking, as the boss of the 13th district, Lake's level is actually similar to him, so he can't order Lake. But anyway, Nick finally sort of figured out the spell thing. So he said directly, so as far as the current situation is concerned, for spells have already appeared, 2 of which are in the Holy Master's place, 2 are in District 13, and the remaining 8 are missing, right? That's right. Dad nodded, not sure what Nick meant. Then, our mission is to find the 8 spells that haven't appeared yet. As long as we get 8 spells first, the Holy Lord will not be able to recover his strength, and we can stop the Holy Lord, am I right? Nick continued, I know what you said. Do you think we haven't thought about it? But the magician who defeated the Holy Lord scattered the Holy Lord's spells all over the world. After decades of hard work, we only found 2 spells. How can the remaining 8 spells be so easy to find? Blake spread his hands and said. But when Nick heard this, he suddenly laughed. This may be difficult for others, but for SHIELD, it's not a problem. Because in SHIELD's database, there are thousands of years of historical data in the world, and there may be records about the Holy Lord and the 12 talismans. Definitely we need professionals to help identify this knowledge. So Dad, I want you to stay and help us identify those materials and see if there are any records about spells so that we can find them. Nick looked at his father seriously and said. When the old man heard this, he was somewhat helpless. You must know that although he is a magician, he is also the owner of an antique shop. If you stay here all the time, what about the antique shop? But considering that this is about the safety of the world, Dad finally agreed. Okay, I promise to stay, but you have to send Xiaoyu back for me first, because she has to go to school tomorrow. Dad said, no problem. Nick agreed. It wasn't a problem at all for him. No, Dad. When Xiaoyu heard this, he quit immediately. It was rare to encounter such a fun thing, and she didn't want to go back to school. Xiaoyu, your task now is to study. This is not something you can meddle in. Don't bother SHIELD later. I will send you back in person. You can live in the school for a few days. Qianlong said seriously. After hearing this, Xiaoyu was even more speechless. Forget about going to school, but still want her to live in school. But in the next second, Xiaoyu suddenly thought of something again, then nodded and said, all right then, I'll go back with you later. Although Xiaoyu agreed, but immediately after, a smirk suddenly appeared on the corner of her mouth. Obviously, Xiaoyu is going to do something again. Definitely, no one cares about such trivial matters now. Everyone is concerned about how to deal with the Holy Lord and how to find the remaining 8 charms. Immediately afterwards, Nick asked his subordinates to arrange a room specially for the old man to facilitate his living, and then moved all the information about SHIELD to the old man's room. Looking at the mountains of materials in front of him, Dad knew that this must be a big project, but this is also impossible. But just when Lake and Qianlong were about to take Xiaoyu away, they unexpectedly found that Xiaoyu had disappeared. Chapter 44, the Captain of the United States, who cannot accept reality. What's the situation? Lake looked bewildered. Where did Xiaoyu go? Qianlong was helpless at the moment, because according to his understanding of Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu was definitely unwilling to go back, so he found a place to hide. And if Xiaoyu didn't want to be found, even he couldn't find Xiaoyu. Forget it. It seems that Xiaoyu doesn't want to go back. If that's the case, let her stay here with Dad, Qianlong said helplessly. Then he said hello to Nick and asked Nick to help take care of Xiaoyu. Immediately afterwards, he followed Lake and left S.H.I.E.L.D. Dad is here to help SHIELD find information and find clues to spells. And Qianlong will also help District 13 find spells. After all, finding spells has always been a thing in District 13, and Lake doesn't want to lose to Nick. After dealing with all this, Tony, who had been silent just now, found Nick. "How is he? Is he better?" Tony asked. When Nick heard this, he immediately understood who Tony was talking about. But then, he shook his head and said, "It's not good. It's still the same. To be honest, I really can't help it." When Tony heard this, he also looked depressed. At the moment, they were talking about none other than Steve Rogers, the captain of the United States who had been rescued from under the Arctic ice. In Marvel's original plot, after Rogers was rescued from the glacier, although he couldn't adapt to the world at first, but soon, driven by a sense of responsibility, he slowly accepted this new world and became the captain of the United States again, even joined the Avengers and protect the whole world. And in the various battles that followed, the captain of the United States also performed outstandingly and became a superhero that everyone admires. But obviously, the plot is a bit different now. I don't know if it's because of the world integrate. The development of events in this world seems to be a bit off. In this world, after Rogers was frozen, his girlfriend Peggy Carter never gave up looking for him. Until an accident, Carter actually died on the way to find Rogers. When Rogers woke up and learned of this incident, he fell into deep self-blame and couldn't extricate himself. Rogers always thought he killed Carter. Recently, Nick has been trying to find ways to help Rogers get out of this knot. But so far, he has tried almost all methods, but nothing works. He was almost driven crazy by this incident. Take me to see. Although Tony had some headaches, he still planned to go and see for himself. Ever since, the two came to the place where Rogers lived, because Rogers has not been able to adapt to this world so far. So he has been living in SHILD. As soon as the door opened, the two saw Black Widow Natasha Romanoff talking to Rogers at the moment, but it was obvious that Rogers didn't want to talk to Natasha Romanoff at all. Seeing Nick and Tony come in, Natasha Romanoff immediately stood up and made a helpless gesture to them. Clearly, she was telling Nick and Tony that there was absolutely nothing she could do to bring Rogers back to normal. Immediately afterwards, Tony walked over and greeted Rogers with a smile. "Hello, Captain. I'm Tony Stark, the son of Howard Stark. You should know my father. After all, you have worked together before." Although Tony was already very enthusiastic, Rogers didn't want to talk to him in the slightest. And the eyes are extremely empty, like a walking dead. When seeing this scene, Tony also had mixed feelings in his heart. It was really difficult for him to connect the man in front of him with the invincible captain of the United States in World War II. Has he always been like this? Have you seen a doctor? What is the reason? Could it be because the freezing time is too long, causing problems in the brain? Tony asked, looking aside to Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff shook her head. Doctors come to check his body every day, but they only come to one conclusion every time. That is, there is nothing wrong with Rogers' brain and body. He just couldn't accept the reality. He always felt that he killed Carter, so that's why. When Tony heard this, his face was depressed, because as a playboy, he can't understand Rogers' special feelings at all. Then did the doctor say how to cure him? It can't go on like this forever, can it? Tony continued asking. Natasha Romanoff shook her head. Obviously, there was nothing the doctors could do to help Rogers return to normal. Chapter 45, We Need the Best Psychiatrist. While Tony and Natasha Romanoff were chatting, Nick stood aside and didn't speak. It's just that his eyes stared at Natasha Romanoff intentionally or unintentionally, and they were filled with a different look. As for why this happened, we have to start from a few days ago. A few days ago, Nick found a gang of criminals based on a clue, that is, Walloon's Mafia, then let Natasha Romanoff lead a team of agents to destroy the criminal gang. In the end, he never imagined that it was supposed to be a simple mission, but in the end, only Natasha Romanoff came back alive. As for the others, they were neither alive nor dead, and they still don't know what happened to them. Natasha Romanoff's explanation for this is that they were ambushed by the enemy and almost wiped out. Only she came back alive. Originally, this didn't seem to be a serious matter. After all, missions are always risky. But the strange thing is that when Nick asked Natasha Romanoff to lead the team to rush there, he found that there was nothing at all. No corpses, no blood, not even signs of battle. Nick sensed that something was wrong at the time, and he felt that this could not be the scene. But he couldn't believe that Natasha Romanoff would deceive him, because Natasha Romanoff is the best agent in SHIELD. But to prove her innocence, Nick had Natasha Romanoff do a lie test. Turns out Natasha Romanoff wasn't lying. However, this did not reassure Nick. On the contrary, it aroused his suspicion even more. It's just that the matter hasn't been investigated clearly, so Nick can't say anything. But he knows that this matter is definitely not as simple as Natasha Romanoff said. There must be some secret behind this. At this moment, Tony suddenly looked at Nick. Nick, have you ever thought about finding a psychiatrist for him? Maybe a psychiatrist can cure him. The current situation of Rogers, I feel that there is a psychological problem. Hearing Tony's words, Nick came back to his senses instantly. But then he shook his head and said, "Do you think we haven't thought about it? We have found a lot of psychiatrists, but they are of no use. He's still like this." Tony smiled slightly and said, "That's because you didn't find the best psychiatrist. I know a psychiatrist who may be able to solve this problem." Nick was instantly interested when he heard this. "Tell me, who is it?" What happened to Rogers recently almost caused Nick to collapse. If there is a way to restore Rogers to normal, then he will definitely not let it go. "I don't know him. I just know his name is Suku, and he runs a mental clinic in Gotham, and his guests are very special. Most of them are villains, such as Joker, Punisher, Deathstroke, Kingpin, and the like. Definitely, aside from these things, his ability is absolutely top-notch, because so far, everyone who has received his treatment is full of praise for his medical skills. He even became a psychiatrist in Arkham Asylum. I think this is enough to show his strength." Tony spoke up. After listening to Tony's words, Nick was speechless for a moment, because he really didn't know why the psychiatrist Tony was talking about was so annoying. How dare you open a psychological clinic in Gotham? You must know that it is an extremely chaotic place full of violence and crimes. But having said that, this seems to have proved his strength. What's more, so many villains are his patients, which shows that he is not an ordinary psychiatrist. Might it really cure Rogers? Thinking of this, Nick couldn't help but be moved. As chaotic as Gotham is, it's no problem for S.H.I.E.L.D. director to take a trip there. So, Nick decided to rush over immediately and invited Suku to treat Rogers. No way, he really needs Rogers too much. Because of the appearance of Thor before, Nick knew that there are other lives outside the Earth, and they are so powerful that people are afraid. Although Thor is not malicious to humans, who can guarantee that other aliens are the same as Thor? In order to cope with what may happen in the future, Nick began to plot a plan with Tony. A program called Avengers. They want to gather the most powerful humans in the world, and then fight against any enemies who want to destroy the world. Just like the Holy Lord who made a fuss in New York City before. Chapter 46 Gotham is the base camp, and as they find the frozen Rogers, this thing seems to become more feasible. Although in the current world, Rogers' power is not so important anymore. Even some mutants can easily defeat him. But don't forget, Rogers is always a human, and mutant is not strictly human. Most humans simply cannot accept mutant being a hero. And what about Rogers? He is a hero in World War II, and he is well known as the Captain of the United States. He is an existence that all Americans admire. He is the most meaningful superhero, and this is why Nick must let Rogers return to normal. In his opinion, if Avengers is really going to be established, then Rogers is indispensable. When thinking of this, Nick suddenly couldn't stay any longer. After saying hello to Tony, he hurried to Gotham to find Suku. But what he doesn't know is that Suku is not in Gotham right now. Time passed quickly, and it was the next day in a blink of an eye. At noon, Suku received a call from Jinbin. Jinbin said on the phone that everything was ready, and he was waiting for Suku to go over to confirm. Anyway, having nothing to do, Suku immediately brought Wanda to Hell's Kitchen. Although Hell's Kitchen was very chaotic, because Jean had greeted all the gangsters in advance, no one dared to shoot Suku and Wanda along the way. Soon, according to the address given by Jean Bing, Suka finally found her own psychological clinic on a street in Hell's Kitchen. Angel Psychological Counseling Clinic. The names are exactly the same as the clinics over there in Gotham. It's in the liveliest neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, surrounded by shops. Opening a psychiatric clinic here might seem out of place with everything around it, but who cares? Anyway, Suku's clients are not ordinary people. When entering the clinic, Suku saw Jean and was already waiting for him. After carefully looking at the decoration inside, Suku nodded in satisfaction. Because to be honest, the decoration here is much better than Gotham's. Obviously, Jean Bing also put a lot of effort into it. Good job, I'm very satisfied. Suku praised with a smile. It's just a trifle, Kim said with a smile. Immediately afterwards, he seemed to think of something again, and then asked, "Everything is ready. When are you going to open?" "Just tomorrow," Suku said, "but I'm afraid you need to send someone to Gotham to help me pick up some friends. It's a small matter. I will definitely help you with it." Kim didn't care. At this moment, Suku suddenly thought of something again, and then said, "By the way, if it opens tomorrow, I may contact some former patients to cheer. Some of them may have some conflicts with you, but I hope you'd better not make a move tomorrow." When Jean heard this, he didn't react too much, because he knew that most of Suku's guests were super criminals. Although he didn't have much conflict with those guys, there was still some friction between the two sides occasionally. But for Suku's sake, at least tomorrow, Jean won't do anything. Ever since, Jean Bin replied, "Don't worry, I know what to do." Having said that, Jean Bing's face suddenly flashed a look of unfinished business, because last night he had already tested his strength. As for how to test, I'm afraid I have to ask those corpses he threw into the sea last night. Overall, he is very satisfied with this new power, and it is all thanks to Suku. I have to say that Jean Bing is really more and more curious about Suku's true identity. After arriving home, Suku thought about it, and finally picked up the phone and dialed one number after another. Ever since some villains, whether they were in Gotham or in New York, received Suku's invitation call. This includes the Punisher, Joker, Bullseye, Dr. Octopus, Deathstroke, Bane, Scarecrow, and more. Among them, the villains of Gotham accounted for more than half. After all, strictly speaking, Gotham is Suku's stronghold. There is no way, after all, it is a new store opening, so I definitely have to invite these guys to identify the door. Otherwise, if someday these guys are seriously injured and can't find me, it will be a tragedy. As for whether they will come or not, that is their business. Chapter 47. The villains are all here. Early the next morning, Suku brought Wanda and Quicksilver here early in the morning. After all, today is their opening day, so why not come early? And Jean Bing had already been waiting here with his younger brothers. Jean Bing originally wanted to bring his family, but considering that there would be many super villains here today, he finally gave up on this idea. Not long after, a car stopped in front of the clinic. It was none other than Harley and Selina who came down. This is what Suku asked Jean Bing to send someone to pick it up. After all, of these two guys, one is his woman and the other is his future woman. How could such things happen without them? "Boss, Suku." Seeing Suku, Selina and Harley immediately greeted each other warmly. But after saying hello, Selina suddenly noticed something was wrong. That is, Harley's name for Suku seemed a little different. You know, in the past, Harley used to call him Boss Suku just like him. Why is he calling him by his name now? Although she was curious, it was obvious that this was not the time to worry about this, and Selina immediately stopped caring. "Come in." Seeing Selina and Harley, Suku immediately greeted them warmly, and then introduced them to Wanda. After all, strictly speaking, they will be considered colleagues in the future. Harley originally wanted to stand with Suku, but considering that there were too many people here, she finally quietly stepped aside. Not long after, another guest came. But the guest who came this time is a bit special because he is almost fully armed, and he also wears a special mask on his face. With just one glance, everyone present recognized his identity. Deathstroke, a guy strong enough to scare everyone, and one of Batman's rivals. Right? It was the guy who beat Batman to the brink of death before and told Batman to find Suku for help. "Welcome," Suku said with a smile. Deathstroke looked at Suku helplessly and said, "You really shouldn't invite me for something like this, because I'm not suitable for this kind of party. But you're still here, aren't you?" Suku said with a smile. Death Bell was speechless for a moment when he heard this. He really didn't want to come, but he had no choice but to not come, because Suku personally invited him. You must know that Suku saved his life before, and the grace of saving his life made it impossible for him to refuse Suku. The reason why the dying Batman was sent to find Suku was just to further confirm Suku's strength. In the end, he was very satisfied, because even if Batman was close to death, Suku could actually save him. Befriending such a person is equivalent to saying that you have one or more lives in the future. With this in mind, the death knell came. I didn't bring any gifts, just use this gold bar instead. The death knell said, and handed over a gold bar that was as thin as an arm. Suku smiled slightly and motioned to Quicksilver to accept the gift from Deathstroke. Immediately afterwards, Death Bell walked into the store and saw Jean Bin, but he had no grudge against Jean, so the two sides just confronted each other, and then they both chose to turn a blind eye. But then, the next man who appeared broke the atmosphere of the scene, because the next one to come is none other than the Punisher. Strictly speaking, the Punisher isn't really a villain, he's an antihero, and most of the time he's fighting King. So when the Punisher appeared here, Jean Bing's younger brothers instantly became a little nervous. The Punisher's eyes changed slightly, and he reached out to touch the gun at his waist. But at this moment, Suku walked over and patted the Punisher on the shoulder and said, "Give me some face today and stop causing trouble, okay?" When the Punisher heard this, although he was somewhat upset, he still nodded. "There is nothing to give away. Let me give you a gun," the Punisher said, throwing a gun over. Quicksilver took it in a hurry and was instantly stunned. "Can this thing be a gift?" The Punisher walked into the clinic, and when he saw Jean Bin, his eyes instantly became sharp. But Jean Bin chose to ignore it, because he promised Suku that he would not make trouble today. If it wasn't for this, he would have killed the Punisher with his bare hands today. Immediately afterwards, other people who were invited by Suku also showed up, and none of them came empty-handed, and the gifts were gold bars, diamonds, gems, cash, etc. Although Suku is not interested in money, Selina and the others are very happy. Chapter 48, in order to give gifts, Joker robbed the bank. Definitely, there was only one guy who didn't come, and that person was none other than Joker. But Suku didn't care too much, because he knew that Joker's scope of activities was only in Gotham, and he probably wouldn't leave Gotham. Unexpectedly, in the next second, a familiar and strange voice suddenly sounded. "Ha ha! Are you all waiting for me? I am really honored." Immediately afterwards, a man with Joker makeup on his face appeared at the door. "Who else is it? Welcome. I thought you weren't coming." Suka laughed. "How is it possible? We are friends. You have already invited me. How can I not come to participate? By the way, this is my gift." As Joker said, he took out a bulging bag with 4 words clearly visible on the bag. Union Bank. The Quicksilver who was in charge of picking up the presents was numb. "Your daddy, UFG rob a bank just to give a gift? Outrageous. It's outrageous." Although extremely shocked in his heart, Quicksilver still accepted the gift from Joker, considering that this is not Gotham. If Joker is too presumptuous, he might be beaten to death. So Suku still advised, "Don't cause trouble today. This is not Gotham. If you accidentally provoke someone, you will really die." Suku is right. Although in Gotham, the Joker is an existence that scares everyone. But in New York, the Joker's influence is not so great. And most of the people here are too lazy to talk nonsense with Joker. If you really want to anger them, it is very possible to kill Joker with one shot. "Don't worry. My friend, at least here, I won't cause you any trouble." Joker laughed, then strode in. As a result, when the people around saw Joker, they all frowned. It was obvious that they had heard of this lunatic from Gotham and didn't want to talk to him. In any case, the guests are already here. Suka looked at the villains in the room and felt amused in his heart, because he knew that if he hadn't invited them, these guys might never get together for the rest of their lives. In fact, most people here don't want to come, but they can't help it if they don't, because they know that they will definitely need Suku's help in the future. So I can only come over to say hello. After all, no one is foolish enough to offend a doctor who can save his life at the most important moment. "Thank you for coming. I offer you a toast." Suku said with a smile, then raised a wine glass in his hand. Immediately afterwards, the others also picked up the wine glasses in their hands. Just when Suku was about to drink, a voice suddenly sounded from the door. "Excuse me, is Dr. Su here?" When Suku looked up, he was a little surprised in an instant, because at the moment, what appeared in front of him was a bald head. And with just one glance, he recognized the bald man's identity. SHIELD Director Nick Fury. "What's the situation?" Brother Su was a little speechless. He didn't seem to invite Nick to come here, even after coming to this world for so long. Apart from slaughtering the SHIELD agent before, he has nothing to do with SHIELD. But that being the case, why did Nick find this place? Just when Suku couldn't figure out what was going on, two more figures appeared at the door. One is Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, and the other is Iron Man Tony Stark. When seeing these three people appear, everyone in the room immediately became serious. After all, everyone here is a villain, and most of them have a grudge with SHIELD and Tony Stark. At the same time, the three of Nick standing at the door were also stunned. Although he knew that Suku's main guests were some villains early on, he never thought that these guys would all gather here on this day. This scene is really too weird. Immediately afterwards, Jean Bin, who is finally the boss of Hell's Kitchen, spoke. "Nick Fury, today is the opening day of my friend's new store, so I don't want to do anything. You better get out of here. I can pretend that nothing happened." Jean said coldly. If it wasn't for Suku's greeting in advance to tell him not to make trouble, then he would definitely teach the three guys in front of him a hard lesson today. Although it made Nick feel uncomfortable to be threatened by a gangster in front of so many people, but thinking about the purpose of coming today, Nick didn't care. His eyes swept across the crowd, and Nick's eyes finally fell on Suku. "You must be Dr. Su, right? Nice to meet you. I'm Nick Fury, director of SHIELD. Nick stepped forward, smiled, and held out his hand. "Hi, my name is Suke." Immediately afterwards, the two sides shook hands. At this moment, Suka suddenly looked at Natasha Romanoff not far away. When the four eyes met, Natasha Romanoff only felt that a switch in her heart seemed to be activated. Chapter 49, The Captain of the United States, also needs to see a psychiatrist. Suka's control over Natasha Romanoff is very special. He's not the kind of person who knelt on the ground and bowed his head and called his master after meeting each other. In Suku's view, that method is really too low level, because Natasha Romanoff was ordered to continue undercover in SHIELD. Even if she saw Suku, Natasha Romanoff did not respond at all. But definitely, if there are only Suku and Natasha Romanoff here at the moment, then Natasha Romanoff will definitely visit Suku as a servant. "Tell me, what do you want from me?" At this moment, Suku finally spoke. Seeing this, Nick went straight to the point. "It's like this. I have a patient who doesn't want to communicate with anyone because of some things. I have sought out many psychiatrists to help him return to normal, but so far it has been useless. So I want to invite you to try it. I heard that you are in Gotham, so I made a special trip to Gotham yesterday, but it ended up being empty. I finally found out that you opened a branch here in New York, so I came here. Please do me this favor. You can pay the consultation fee as you like." Nick said seriously. "Patient." Hearing this, Suku felt a little puzzled, because it was hard for him to believe that there were any patients in SHIELD who needed psychological treatment. Suddenly at this moment, Tony on the side seemed to have noticed something and then shouted, "Wait, I seem to know you. Were you also there when the rat charm was auctioned off?" As Tony said, he suddenly ran up to Suku. At the same time, Selena, not far away, suddenly became nervous, because she didn't forget that she and Suku were the ones who robbed Tony Stark. Seeing that Tony recognized him, Suku immediately admitted it generously. "That's right, we met at the time. I knew the information about the talisman from some ancient books, so I also wanted to buy a talisman and study it. I didn't expect to be photographed by you in the end. By the way, how was your research on the power of spells?" Suku asked as if he didn't know anything. When Tony heard this, he didn't have the slightest doubt. After all, in his opinion, Suku did leave first. He shook his head, then said helplessly, "Don't mention it. After I bought the talisman, I lost it as soon as I went out before I had time to study it. Then it inexplicably appeared in the hands of a demon named Holy Master. It's really unlucky. Suka pretended to be surprised. There is such a thing again? Selina, not far away, saw Suka's appearance and felt amused for a moment. But soon, Selina suddenly felt something was wrong. Isn't the rat charm in Suka's hand? Why would Tony say that the rat charm is in the hands of a demon named Lord? For a while, Selina became a little confused. Tony, don't forget about our business. At this moment, Nick couldn't help but speak. Tony reacted instantly, and then looked at Suku and said, I won't talk about the previous things anyway. We hope you can help us treat a patient. Who is that patient? Suka asked. Tony looked at the super criminals in the room, hesitation for a while, because he didn't think it was an appropriate occasion to say Roger's name. Suku saw Tony's entanglement, but didn't care at all. He said, if you won't even tell me the name of the patient, then I'm afraid I really can't help you. Don't. Hearing this, Nick on the side became a little anxious for a moment, and then he stopped hesitation. Stephen Rogers, Nick said slowly. Stephen Rogers? Captain of the United States. When Suku heard this, before Suku could speak, the Punisher who was sitting at the side spoke first, with a look of surprise on his face. No way. The name of the Captain of the United States is too big, and almost everyone present knows this name. It's just that they didn't expect that Stephen, the Captain of the United States, would need to see a psychiatrist. It's kind of unbelievable to think about it. Ding! A new task is released now. Please go to SHIELD to sign in and reward a lucky draw with 100,000 system points. Suddenly at this moment, the system sound rang. Chapter 50 Gene Bin and Hydra. Suka suddenly felt amused, because the task of the system is released too timely. How could he not agree to such a simple and easy thing? Thinking this way, Suka then looked at Nick, who was looking forward to him, and said, under normal circumstances, I would not receive this kind of customer, but today the new store opens, and you're my first customer, so I took this order. But I won't have time until tomorrow. Seeing that Suka finally agreed, Nick was relieved. It's okay. Tomorrow is tomorrow. I will send someone to pick you up on time tomorrow. Nick laughed. Immediately afterwards, realizing that he was really not suitable to stay in this kind of place, Nick immediately took Tony and Natasha Romanoff to leave. And after Nick and the others left, the atmosphere here finally eased up a bit. After a while, after a few glasses of wine, all the guests also greeted Suku and then left one by one. After all, they really don't fit together. Even Selina and Harley are back in Gotham. Definitely, before leaving, Suka did not forget to give them half of everything received today. This made Selina and Harley happy for a long time. Sure enough, my boss is very generous. Soon, only Suku, the Wanda siblings, and Jinbin were left. Jinbin walked up to Suku with a glass of wine and asked, are you really going to SHIELD to help treat the United States captain? What? Don't you want me to go? Suka asked with a smile. He knows Kim and SHIELD are a little bit off. Kim shook his head. Definitely not. I don't like SHIELD very much, but I will not interfere with any of your decisions. I just want to remind you, although SHIELD looks safe, its interior has already been hollowed out by moths. You'd better not have any contact with them. When Suku heard this, he instantly regained some energy because Jinbing's words obviously seemed to mean something. What do you want to say in the end? Suka asked. Seeing this, Jinbing simply didn't give a shit. According to the information I got, Hydra seems to have been lurking in every corner of SHIELD, and they have been controlling everything in SHIELD. Those guys are a bunch of lunatics, so I don't want you to be targeted by those guys. As a time traveler, Suku naturally knew that SHIELD had already been invaded by HYDRA, and even Pierce, the boss of SHIELD, was also an undercover agent of HYDRA. But he was really curious. How did Jinbing know? As if seeing Suku's doubts, Jinbing smiled again. I'm a businessman. As long as I give money, I will do anyone's business. Suka suddenly realized, after a long time, it turned out that Jinbing has been cooperating with HYDRA. It's kind of interesting, but Suka doesn't care either. Don't worry, I know what to do. Suka laughed. Seeing this, Jinbing didn't say anything more. The purpose of today is just to let the villains know that they have a new store here, and they don't plan to officially open it. So after sending Jinbin away, Suku immediately took Wanda and Quicksilver home. As soon as she got home, Wanda couldn't help but asked, "Are you really going to SHIELD tomorrow to help the Captain of the United States do psychological treatment?" "That's right." Suka nodded. "I've promised Nick before, so I'm definitely going tomorrow. Then shall I go too?" Wanda asked again. Suka smiled and said, "What? Don't you want to go?" "No." Wanda shook her head, suddenly at a loss for what to say. Although she had promised Suku to become Suku's assistant before, she already knew that she would accompany Suku to treat patients. But to be honest, she never thought that the first guest would be Rogers, Captain of the United States. This is too exaggerated for her. She worried that she would screw it up. In contrast, Quicksilver on the side is eager to try, because he wants to meet the United States captain. But in the next second, Suku interrupted his fantasy. "I can go with Wanda tomorrow. You stay at home." Suka said, "Why?" When Quicksilver heard this, he quit immediately. However, Suku just glanced at him indifferently, and then said, "You don't want to be caught by Hydra again, do you?" "What?" Quicksilver was stunned, because he didn't understand how SHIELD got involved with 9 fighters. Isn't SHIELD Hydra's nemesis? Wanda on the side suddenly became curious. "What exactly is going on?" Wanda asked. Seeing this, Suku immediately stopped hiding. To put it simply, SHIELD was invaded by Hydra a long time ago. So if I take you to SHIELD, Hydra will definitely find it. Wanda and Quicksilver fell silent after hearing this. Wanda and Quicksilver wouldn't believe it if it came out of someone else's mouth. But this is what Suku said, so they have to believe it, because they know that Suku will not joke about this kind of thing. Chapter 51: The World Needs the Captain of the United States. "Why don't I go tomorrow?" At this moment, Wanda spoke suddenly. She has been avoiding Hydra with Quicksilver for a long time, and she is really worried about being caught by Hydra again. But when hearing this, Suku shook his head. "Wanda, do you want to hide like this forever? You don't even know how powerful you are. With your strength, you don't have to be afraid of anyone. Tomorrow I will take you to S.H.I.E.L.D. If the Hydra hidden in SHIELD does not make a move, then everything will be fine. But if they do, let's kill Hydra together. How about it?" In the Marvel Universe, Wanda is definitely a bug-level existence, because the origin magic power she possesses is so powerful that everyone is afraid of it. Not even Sorcerer Supreme is her match. So in Suku's view, there is no need for Wanda to be afraid of Hydra. In fact, as far as Suku is concerned, the existence of Hydra will only bring chaos to the world, so Suku did not intend to directly destroy Hydra before. What Suku wants to do the most is to let Hydra and SHIELD fall in love and kill each other, because only in this way will they constantly create chaos. But if Hydra still wants to attack Wanda, then Suku doesn't mind killing Hydra directly. Anyway, good and evil in this world need to be balanced. That is to say, even if Hydra is wiped out, new evil forces will come out to replace 9 dragons and snakes. The world will still be chaotic. All in all, it doesn't matter to Suku whether he could destroy Hydra or not. When Wanda on the side heard this, she was instantly moved. "I'll listen to you." Wanda finally agreed to Suku, because in her opinion, as long as Suku is around, she is absolutely safe. So this matter was settled like this. Early the next morning, when Suku woke up, he found a black car parked in front of his house, and there were 2 people who looked like agents standing beside him. Obviously, Nick sent someone to pick them up, although Suku didn't tell Nick where he lived yesterday. As the director of SHIELD, this kind of thing is obviously not a difficult thing for Nick. After a simple breakfast, Suku took Wanda into the car of S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately afterwards. The car started and drove to the destination. After driving for an hour, they finally came to a secret base, and Nick was already here waiting for them. "Welcome both of you." Seeing Suku appear, Nick immediately greeted with a smile. Immediately afterwards, Nick walked in with Suku and Wanda. While walking, he explained to them why Rogers behaved like this. After listening to Nick's explanation, Suku was somewhat surprised, because he never thought that Carter in this world would die so early, and died looking for Rogers. You must know that in the plot he is familiar with, Carter lived until Rogers woke up. Obviously, this should be the change brought about by the world integrate. No wonder Rogers became like this. While speaking, they came to a room. The decoration of the room is very simple, with only some basic living items. At this moment, there was a man sitting by the window with blank eyes, not knowing what he was thinking. There is no doubt that this is the United States, Captain Luo, Stephen Rogers. That is Suku's patient this time. Hello, Captain. I have found a new doctor for you this time, and he should be able to help you. Nick yelled at Rogers, but Rogers ignored him and just sat by the window in a daze. Nick looked at Suka helplessly and said, "See, it's been like this ever since he learned about the death of Carter's agent. We tried almost everything, but it didn't work. Now I can only hope you can get him, because the world needs the captain of the United States." The world needs the United States captain? Hearing this, Suka felt speechless for a while, because in his opinion, the captain of the United States is really not that important. But then he still said, "Leave it to us." In the next second, Suka remembered something again, and then continued, "I don't like to be disturbed when I treat patients, so there can't be anyone here except me and my assistant and Rogers." "No problem." Nick nodded, which seemed reasonable to him. But then, Suka suddenly pointed to the camera not far away. "That doesn't work either. Forehead." When Nick heard this, he felt somewhat hesitation, because those cameras were mainly used to observe Rogers' daily changes, and according to general rules, they could not be turned off. But seeing Suku's serious face, Nick finally gave an order. "Ever since, all the cameras in the room were turned off. Then I'm counting on you." After saying this, Nick left the room without looking back. For a moment, only Suku, Wanda, and Rogers were left in the room. Chapter 52, 2 Ways to Treat the Captain of the United States. Suka first used the demon's ability to probe Rogers' thinking, and found that this guy's psychology was almost on the verge of collapse. Guilt, sadness, all kinds of complex emotions mixed together, impacting his psychological defense line all the time. It seems that what Nick said is right. Rogers' psychological problems are indeed very serious. Suku shook his head, then looked at Wanda beside him. "How is it? Do you feel anything?" Wanda heard this, and then said with a puzzled look, "Why do I have to use telepathy?" From Wanda's point of view, it's fine for Suku to take action in this kind of matter. She is a little assistant, and she is really not qualified to take action. But obviously, Suka doesn't think so. He pointed to Rogers and said, "Your ability is not very proficient yet. It is time to practice, so don't waste such good materials." "Material? You call the United States Captain Rogers practice material?" When Wanda heard this, she felt speechless for a while. But soon, she was a little moved because what Suka said was right. The current Rogers is indeed the best experimental subject. Shouldn't something happen? Wanda asked cautiously. Suka shook his head. "Don't worry. With me here, nothing will happen." Wanda breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this. Immediately afterwards, a burst of red energy suddenly flashed from her eyes, and telepathy instantly activated. After a few seconds, Wanda suddenly sighed. "No, his thinking is too chaotic, and all kinds of complicated emotions are filling his heart. I can't wake him up at all. If I wake him up forcefully, I might burn his brain." At the moment, Wanda has just awakened super ability not long ago, so she can only master some basic abilities. As far as the current situation of Rogers is concerned, she really dare not mess around. If it burns Rogers' brains, then Rogers will become a fool. This kind of thing makes one feel scared just thinking about it. Suka thought about it, and then said, "I have 2 ways to bring him back to normal. The first way is that we forcibly change his memory and delete everything about Carter's agent in his memory. Since he doesn't remember Carter's agent, then he won't be like this. This can be regarded as solving the problem fundamentally." When Wanda heard this, she was instantly speechless because she felt that it was not fair to Rogers and Carter. "What about the second method?" Wanda asked. "The second method is also very simple. We create an illusory dream for him. Let him spend his whole life with his lover in this dream, and he will probably return to normal when he wakes up. Sometimes human beings break down emotionally because they don't get a perfect ending. All we need to do is to give him a perfect ending, even if this ending is illusory. Suka said the second way. When Wanda heard this, his eyes lit up immediately because he felt that this method was very feasible. At least it is much better than Suka's first method. Then let's start quickly. Use the second method, Wanda said hastily. Seeing this, Suka stopped talking nonsense, and in the next second, the relationship between him and Wanda invaded Roger's memory again. To accomplish this, Roger's consciousness must first be found, and Roger's consciousness is hidden in his memory. For a moment, Roger's memory flashed before their eyes like a tide. Found it! Soon, Wanda shouted. Immediately afterwards, the memory was frozen in an instant. Suka saw something similar to a portal suddenly appearing in front of him. On the other side of the door was Agent Carter, and outside the door was Rogers, who was trying to rush through. In Roger's mind, it seemed that he could be with Carter just by going through the door. But things are not so simple. This is just his spiritual world. Everything is fake. Team leader, Wanda gave a cautious cry. Rogers turned around in an instant and looked at Suku and Wanda in front of him in astonishment. Who are you? Rogers asked in surprise. We are the psychiatrists invited by SHIELD to treat you. This is Dr. Suku, and I am his assistant, Wanda. Captain, you should know that all this is just fake. Why don't you give up? Living in my own memory is a very painful thing. Wanda first introduced herself and then began to persuade Rogers. But Rogers shook his head. I know it hurts, but I still can't forgive myself. I owe her. Saying that, Rogers looked at Carter on the other side again. His eyes were full of remorse and self-blame. Chapter 53, Captain America and Carter. Then what if we can help you stay with Carter? Suddenly at this moment, a voice sounded from behind. When Rogers heard this, he immediately looked back at Suku, who was not far away, with an incredulous look on his face. What do you mean by that? Rogers couldn't help asking. Seeing this, Wanda on the side immediately explained, We thought of a way to make you and Carter spend the rest of your life together. But definitely, it's only in your consciousness. If you can accept it, then we can let you be together now. But there's one thing I must tell you. Everything you will experience later is just a dream. After waking up from the dream, he will still return to the real world. When Rogers heard this, he was silent again for a moment, because he also knew that he couldn't go back, and it seemed that the only way to be with Carter was in a dream. Although I don't know how the two people in front of me could do such a thing. They shouldn't be lying. But at this moment, Suku at the side smiled meaningfully, because he knew in his heart that if Rogers really wanted to be with Carter, there was no other way. Time Gem can do just that. Using the power of the Time Gem to send Rogers back in time, and then let him and Kyle live out his life, it's so easy. And in the final episode of Avengers, Rogers did the same. After defeating Thanos thoroughly, in order not to affect the world, Rogers returned to the past with a few gems and planned to return the gems to various places. However, after the task was completed, Rogers did not choose to go back to the future, but married Carter Agent in the past and live his life. Definitely, this is the original plot. As for whether it will happen in the future, Suka doesn't know, and he doesn't want to care. He just wanted to deal with what was in front of him. And at this moment, Rogers finally made up his mind. He looked at Suku and Wanda firmly and said, I accept. Please help me. When Wanda heard this, she immediately looked at Suku. Seeing this, Suka stopped talking nonsense. In the next second, the obstacle in front of Rogers suddenly disappeared. Rogers paused for a moment, then finally stepped in. Carter. Rogers tremblingly called Carter's agent not far away. The moment he heard this, Carter looked over in surprise. Rogers, are you not dead? Carter said tremblingly. I didn't die. I came back alive. I swear, I will never leave you again. Rogers said with a smile and hugged Carter tightly. Suku and Wanda didn't leave. They still stood there observing everything about Rogers. Ever since, they saw Rogers and Carter walk into the Palace of Marriage and have several children. Then the child's child had another child, and by this time Carter and Rogers were well into their teens. Finally, Carter passed away. Rogers also ushered in his death not long after. After he died, he appeared in front of Suku and Wanda again, and his appearance did not change at all. It's just that the expression on his face looks sober now. Although to Suku and Wanda, the time has passed only a few minutes, but to Rogers, he has lived his life. The bits and pieces of this life have also become the memories of his life. Wanda stood aside, feeling moved because she just witnessed the life of Rogers and Carter. Although this life was just a false fantasy that did not exist, it still moved her very much. As for Suku, his face was expressionless because he thought it was really nothing to look at. In any case, the task seems to be successfully completed this time. "Captain, how do you feel now?" Wanda asked cautiously. She needed to make sure Rogers was back to normal. Hearing this, Rogers looked up at Wanda and Suku, then smiled and said, "Thank you for helping me fulfill my last wish. I won't be addicted to it anymore." Wanda breathed a sigh of relief, because it was clear that Rogers was back to normal. "Rogers, look forward, and in the future, there may not be no way for you to really go back to the past," Suka said with a smile. "What?" Hearing this, Rogers immediately looked at Suku in astonishment. "What the hell do you mean by that?" asked Rogers. "It's not interesting. I just want to tell you that the current technology is so advanced. Maybe someone will develop a tool that can travel through time in the near future, and then you can go back." Suka smiled and said, not willing to explain too much. However, these words are enough to make Rogers excited. Chapter 54, Dad and Xiaoyu. He thinks what Suka said is right. As long as he lives well, maybe one day in the future, he can really travel back to the past. "Thank you." Rogers once again expressed his thanks to Suku. "Then let's go." Suka nodded to Wanda at the side. The next second, in the real world, Suku and Wanda slowly opened their eyes, and not far away, Rogers finally returned to normal. "Looks like SHIELD went to great lengths to get me back to normal." Looking at the surrounding environment, Rogers smiled helplessly in an instant. "Fortunately, you finally returned to normal. Nothing is more important than this." Wanda smiled and said, the experience just now really gave her an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. Suka didn't speak, just walked to the door, and then knocked on the door. Not long after, the door was pushed open, and it was none other than Nick. "What's wrong?" The moment he came in, Nick immediately asked. He thought Suka needed something. "Hello, Nick." Suddenly at this moment, a familiar voice sounded. Nick was taken aback for a moment. His eyes followed the voice and looked over. Immediately afterwards, he saw not far away, Rogers was greeting him with a smile on his face. FK. It turned out to be a success. When seeing this scene, Nick was instantly dumbfounded, because it has only been 10 minutes since he just left. That is to say, in less than 10 minutes. Suku actually brought Rogers back to normal. This Nima is too outrageous, right? You know, it took them a whole month to get Rogers back to normal. Outrageous. It's outrageous. Although he felt extremely shocked in his heart, Nick still reacted quickly. He rushed directly to Rogers and then asked with concern, "Captain, are you sure you're really back to normal?" "Don't worry, Nick. I won't dwell on the past. And if Carter is here, she won't want me to," Rogers said with a smile. Hearing this, Nick was finally sure that Rogers was indeed back to normal. Immediately afterwards, he looked at Suku in astonishment again. "Dr. Su, you are really amazing." Suku smiled slightly and said, "Don't praise me. It's useless to praise me. The consultation fees that should be paid still have to be paid." "Definitely," Nick said with a smile. "You know, SHIELD is never short of money. Ever since a check of 10 million was delivered to Suku. In Nick's opinion, 10 million in exchange for a normal captain of the United States is a very good deal. Suku was not polite and directly handed the check to Wanda behind her. Looking at the 10 million check in her hand, Wanda was a little dazed. Obviously, she didn't expect that, in just 10 minutes, Suku actually earned 10 million. This is really unbelievable to her. "If there is nothing else, we will leave first." At this moment, Suku suddenly spoke. "Rogers has been cured, and the check-in task has been completed, and there is no use for him to stay here. Okay, I'll send you off." Hearing this, Nick immediately reacted and then prepared to send Suku and the others away. As for Rogers, Nick has plenty of time to chat with him. When leaving, Suku deliberately slowed down and was observing the reactions of the surrounding agents all the time, because he wants to know if Hydra will make a move on Wanda. But when they came to a corner, a little girl suddenly rushed out of nowhere and rushed into Suku's arms. Suku didn't pay attention to it first, thinking it was some agent's child. But when he saw the child's face clearly, he lost his composure in an instant. Because this little girl is none other than Xiaoyu. If she had met Xiaoyu in Papa's antique shop, then Suku would not be surprised. Kanama is SHIELD here. In Marvel's SHIELD, I met Xiaoyu from Chun-Long's adventures, which is really outrageous. This made Suku instantly feel like he was acting out. At this time, Xiaoyu had already looked up at him. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Xiaoyu stuck out her tongue and said, with a strange expression on her face, "It doesn't matter." Suku also reacted and then smiled. Immediately afterwards, another voice came from not far away. "Xiaoyu, didn't I tell you not to run around? Come and help Dad research the information. Otherwise, Dad will send you back to school." Suku followed the prestige and saw an old man not far away. This old man is none other than the old man in Chun-Long's adventures. Chapter 55, She is One of My Own. This Nima is even more dramatic. For a while, Suku became even more speechless. But then he suddenly realized that although this seemed outrageous, it was quite normal when he thought about it carefully. After all, this world is not simply the adventures of Chun-Long or Marvel, but the world after Integrate. Father and the others must have known about Holy Master's riots in New York City before, so naturally they got caught up with the SHIELD dog. "Okay, Dad, I'll help you." At this moment, Xiaoyu's voice interrupted Suku's train of thought. Immediately afterwards, Suku saw Xiaoyu finish speaking angrily and then walk towards the old man. Although Xiaoyu didn't want to help her father research any materials, it was obvious that she didn't want to be sent back to school. Seeing Xiaoyu walking over, the father didn't say anything more. But just when the old man was about to return to the room, he suddenly noticed something and came to Sue eagerly. "Who are you?" Dad asked curiously. Nick on the side heard this and quickly introduced. "Father, this is Dr. Sue, a powerful psychiatrist. He just helped cure Rogers, and now Rogers has returned to normal. Suku, this is Daddy. He is a powerful magician, and that little girl is his grandniece Xiaoyu." Nick briefly introduced the two parties. Psychologist? After listening to Nick's introduction, the father still looked at Suku curiously, as if he didn't believe this statement. At the same time, Suku was also a little surprised because he had already guessed that his father should have discovered the devil's breath on him. Although he has been well hidden, it is obvious that as a powerful magician, the old man can still detect the devil's breath on him. And from far away, he could feel the extremely powerful magic of righteousness on his father's body. It's kind of interesting. Just when Suku was amazed, the old man was also extremely surprised at the moment. It's really strange. Why does this man have a devil's breath on his body? The old man was a little curious, and the way he looked at Suku became more and more strange. His intuition told him that the so-called psychiatrist in front of him must have some unknown secret, and it's a secret about demons. But at this moment, Nick on the side became a little anxious. Because Nick still intends to send Suku away, he hurried back to talk to the captain of the United States about the Avengers. He doesn't want to waste time here. Ever since, Nick immediately opened his mouth and said, "Father, if there's nothing else, I will send Dr. Sue away first." Although the old man had some doubts in his heart, he was only suspicious, so he couldn't say anything after hearing this. Immediately afterwards, the old man nodded and then brought Xiaoyu back into the room. Suku just smiled and didn't say anything, because unlike the Holy Master, he didn't intend to provoke this little old man. Nick continued to walk towards the door with Suku and Wanda, and along the way, Wanda's spirit has been in a tense state because she is really worried that HYD Array, who is undercover in SHIELD, will shoot her. But until they came to the door, no one shot. Wanda breathed a sigh of relief. And at the door, a car was already waiting there. It is worth mentioning that the person sitting in the driver's seat is none other than Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff, please send Dr. Sue back. Nick said to Natasha Romanoff. Ugh. Natasha Romanoff nodded and agreed directly. Immediately afterwards, Suku and Wanda also boarded the car. Goodbye. Nick smiled and waved, watching Suka leave. After the car started, Nick couldn't wait to turn around and go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. He can't wait to talk to Rogers about Avengers. In the car, Suka looked out the window and then asked, Wanda, when you were at S.H.I.E.L.D. just now, did you notice that Hydra was undercover? Forehead. When Wanda heard this, she looked at Suku in surprise, knowing that the one who is driving is the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Do you think it is okay to discuss this now? Seemingly seeing Wanda's worry, Suku immediately said, Don't worry, she is one of my own. Natasha Romanoff, who was driving, smiled at Wanda when she heard this. Wanda was shocked again, because as far as she knew, the woman in front of her should have very high authority in S.H.I.E.L.D. How did Suku turn her into her own? Is it mind control? No. If it's mind control, I can definitely detect it, so it's obviously not. What would that be Wanda really couldn't figure out? In fact, she definitely won't get it, because it's an ability from the devil. Chapter 56, as a demon. The feeling of the big boss behind the scenes is really good. Since she couldn't figure it out, Wanda stopped thinking about it immediately. Anyway, it's not bad to have a one of my own in S.H.I.E.L.D. So, she opened her mouth and said, When I left just now, I did realize that some of them were Hydra's undercover agents. But what makes me feel strange is that they don't seem to be hostile to me, but they are very hostile to you. What's going on? Suku was not surprised when he heard this, because what he noticed before was similar to Wanda. Immediately afterwards, Suku said, For a long time, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra have been rivals, but in the past, S.H.I.E.L.D. was not called S.H.I.E.L.D., but the Strategic Science Corps. During World War II, Hydra tried to control the world. At this time, the Strategic Science Corps developed a super soldier serum and created Captain America. Then Captain America stopped their plot and even defeated the leader of HYDRA, Red Skull. So HYDRA naturally hates Captain America very much. But Captain America has a special status and they can't kill them directly. So they only hope that Captain America can continue to be so decadent, and it's better to become a useless person. But I suddenly appeared and saved him. This made Hydra's plan come to naught, and they will definitely hate me for it. As for not being hostile to you, I guess it's because these Hydra undercover agents and the Hydra who wanted to arrest you don't belong to the same department. So they don't know about you and Quicksilver. After listening to Suku's explanation, Wanda suddenly realized. But then, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, because at least for a short period of time, she didn't have to worry about Hydra coming to MT her. As for whether Hydra will attack Suku, Wanda is not worried at all, because they will just die miserably. Not long after, the car stopped at the gate of the villa. Suka looked back at Wanda and said, Wanda, you go back first. I have something to explain. Although she didn't know what Suku was going to do, Wanda nodded and got out of the car and went back to the villa. For a while, only Suku and Natasha Romanoff were left in the car. Although Natasha Romanoff has been introduced to Wanda, there are some things that Suku still does not intend to let Wanda know. Immediately afterwards, Suku finally spoke. Natasha Romanoff, has SHIELD started working on something called the Tesseract recently? Suka asked. Tesseract? Upon hearing this, Natasha Romanoff shook her head and said, No, there's none? This is a bit strange. After all, according to Suku's understanding, the War of the Avengers Alliance will start soon, and at this time, SHIELD should have already started researching Tesseract. But why didn't SHIELD conduct research in this area? Could something else have happened because of the world integrate? Suku shook his head, feeling something was wrong. But then, he still said, After returning to SHIELD, you can help me investigate the Tesseract. If you have any news about this, let me know immediately. Yes, without the slightest hesitation, Natasha Romanoff immediately agreed. Although she doesn't know what Tesseract is, she doesn't know why Suku is interested in this thing. But since it's what Suku ordered, she can't disobey it. In the Marvel Universe, infinite gems are definitely something that runs through the universe. And the first infinite gems to appear is, of course, the space gem, the so-called Tesseract. To be honest, Suku is very interested in space gems because at the end of the day, all Marvel stories originate from space gems. It is also because of the existence of the space gem that Avengers was officially established. It can even be said that as long as he controls the space gem, then Suku can control the development of the entire Marvel plot. Although doing this is a bit like a big boss behind the scenes, but as a demon, Suku likes this feeling very much. Chapter 57 Call from the Holy Lord. After ordering Natasha Romanoff, Suku let her go. When Suku returned to the villa, he saw Wanda telling Quicksilver what happened today. Clearly, what happened today was new to Wanda. Suku just smiled and didn't say anything. Time passed quickly, and it was night in a blink of an eye. After having dinner with Wanda and the others, Suku went back to his room, just as he was considering whether to go to Gotham to find Harley to do something. Suddenly, a familiar wave of magic sounded in Suku's mind. Moreover, there seemed to be a familiar voice calling him vaguely. Suku was speechless for a moment, because he knew that it was the Lord calling him. Suku didn't want to talk to the Holy Master at first, but considering that the Holy Lord might really have something to do, he decided to go there eventually. After saying hello to Wanda and the others, Suku drove to the place where the Holy Lord was. And Walong and the others have been waiting for Suku downstairs. Obviously, the Holy Master expected Suku to come. Welcome, dear Lord Demon. The moment he saw Suku, Valen led Leisu and the others to bow down respectfully. It's clear that Walloon was grateful for Suku's earlier shot. And I have to say that Suku also liked the attitude of Valen and the others, so he threw another handful of diamonds in the past. You guys are rewarded, Suku said. When they saw this scene, Valen and the others went crazy instantly. Because of Suku's move, at least several hundred million. Immediately afterwards, Valen and the others were grateful while picking up diamonds on the ground. Respected Lord Demon, thank you so much. If there is anything to do in the future, just tell us. We will not hesitate. At the moment, Valen really regretted following the Lord. If he had followed Suku, he might be rich by now. There is no need to serve the Holy Lord anymore. But definitely, Valen only dared to think about this in his heart. He didn't dare to say it, because once the Holy Master finds out, he feels that his end will be very miserable. Walong and others lead the way, and soon Suku saw the Lord. Welcome, my dear brother. When seeing Suku, the Holy Lord was very enthusiastic instantly, and Suku was so enthusiastic that he felt sick. But immediately after, Suku found that the Holy Master in front of him seemed to be a little different. To put it simply, the power of the Holy Master seems to have recovered a little. Suku was curious. He could probably guess why the Holy Master did this, and then asked, Holy Master, did you get another spell? The Holy Master nodded and said, That's right, my brother. Just yesterday, Valen and the others found a sheep charm for me. Now, I already have the power of 3 charms. The sheep charm has the magic power to make the holder's soul astral. In the original plot of Chun Long's adventures, Xiaoyu stole the sheep charm and tried to activate the magic power. As a result, the soul astral rear sheep charm was snatched by the mafia, who sneaked into the room. Then the soulless body was possessed by the Holy Lord's soul. And finally, Xiaoyu returned to her body after the Holy Lord's soul left. The sheep charm is the same as the mouse charm. They're both charms that can free the Holy Lord. Although they can't bring much power, their importance is self-evident. Thinking of this, Suku immediately stopped caring. Tell me, Holy Master, what is the purpose of you looking for me today? Suku asked straight to the point. Upon hearing this, the Holy Master knew that Suku didn't like Moji and immediately stated his purpose directly. My dear brother, I want to invite you to rule this world together again, said the Holy Lord. When Suku heard this, he was speechless for a moment, because when he met the Holy Lord before, he had already rejected the Holy Lord's invitation to rule the world together. In the end, he didn't expect that the Holy Master still didn't give up. Holy Lord, when will he realize that this world is already different from before? Suku has no interest in this kind of thing, so he said directly, Holy Lord, I've said it before, I won't get involved in your affairs, and don't bother me. If you only came to me for this matter, then we should not meet in the future." After saying this, Suku was ready to leave, etc. Seeing that Suku was about to leave, the Holy Master became anxious in an instant. "I have one more important thing. Please help me, my dear brother." Chapter 58, Holy Lord and Loki. Suka finally stopped after hearing this. "Tell me, what is it?" Suka said impatiently. He is really annoying the Holy Master, but he also knew that if he left like this, the Holy Master would definitely continue to look for him. So he might as well help the Holy Master. Definitely. The premise is that this matter is not troublesome. If the Holy Master says anything about ruling the world, he will just leave. But it's clear that the Lord is talking about something else this time. Not long ago, a guy named Loki approached me and said he wanted to work with me to rule the earth. He said that he will lead an army to the earth at that time. As long as I cooperate with him, we will definitely be able to take the earth. The Holy Master said slowly. What? Suka was a little surprised when he heard this, because Suka never thought that Loki would come to find the Lord. This Nima is too outrageous, right? This is even more outrageous than seeing Daddy and Xiaoyu in SHIELD before. After all, one of them is a supervillain from Marvel, and the other is the ultimate boss from Jackie Chan's Adventures. Two guys from different worlds actually want to cooperate to rule the world. It's outrageous. Holy Lord, how did you know Loki? Suka came back to his senses, looked at the Holy Master, and asked. However, the Holy Master shook his head. I don't know this guy. This guy took the initiative to find me. The Holy Lord didn't lie. He really didn't know Loki, and Loki also wanted to cooperate with the Holy Lord after he saw the scene of the Holy Lord rioting in New York by accident. Because Loki knows that the Lord is a very powerful demon, and if he has such a powerful demon as an ally, his plan will be more likely to succeed. So, he contacted the Holy Master and reached a cooperation with the Holy Lord. Suka thought for a while, and always felt that this matter was really too effed up, because according to his understanding of Loki, like the Lord, is a guy who doesn't believe what he says. It's really speechless that these two guys want to work together to rule the earth. Holy Lord, do you trust Loki? Suka asked again. Unexpectedly, the Holy Master laughed when he heard this. Immediately afterwards, the Holy Master said, My dear brother, how could I possibly believe in a foreign god? God is what I hate the most, because I have never forgotten that thousands of years ago, we were sealed by the so-called God. But I think we really need to use his power to rule the world. But after ruling the whole world, I will kill him immediately. All right. Suka didn't feel too surprised when he heard this. After all, the Holy Master never kept his promises, and doing so was really in line with his character. But then again, Loki isn't vegetarian either. Maybe Loki also planned to kill the Lord after he succeeded in the first place. After all, Loki is also a powerful magician. If he can use sealing magic, Suka would not be surprised. All in all, these two guys might fall in love and kill each other next. Then what do you need me to do? At this moment, Suka continued to ask. It's very simple. Loki said he would bring someone to meet me in a few days, and that person would be of great help to our plan. But you also know that my strength has not recovered yet, and I am worried that there is some conspiracy in it, so I need you to go with me. The Holy Master continued. When Suka heard this, he was instantly interested, because he was curious. Who exactly would Loki bring to meet the Lord? Originally, he didn't want to agree to the Holy Master, but now it seems that this matter is not troublesome. He just wanted to meet Loki with the Holy Master. Definitely, there's another guy who doesn't know who. But it doesn't matter, for Suku, everyone is the same. Thinking this way, Suku immediately agreed. Okay, I promise I will go with you when the time comes. When is the time you agreed? Seeing that Suku agreed, the Holy Master was relieved, and then hurriedly replied, 5 days later. Very well. See you in 5 days. After saying this, Suku turned around and left. The Lord was about to say something, but Suka had already disappeared before his eyes. This made the Holy Master very helpless. It was already late at night when we got home. Wanda and Quicksilver had already gone to bed, and Suku also went to rest immediately. Boom, boom, boom. The next morning, a knock on the door suddenly rang. Chapter 59, Professor X and Wolverine. Demons don't need sleep, but in order to look more like a human, Suka still rests every night. However, unlike humans, he is only immersed in his own consciousness. So Suku naturally woke up when he heard the knock on the door. However, when Suku went downstairs, he saw Wanda and Quicksilver standing at the door nervously, but they still dare not open the door. At the same time, Suku also felt a powerful spiritual force, and this mental power comes from the door. Obviously, Wanda felt it too, which is why she reacted like this. Seeing Suku appearing, Wanda rushed up to greet her and asked in a low voice, "Suku, what the hell is going on here? I always feel that there is a very powerful guy at the door." Suku had roughly guessed who the visitor was at this moment, and then comforted him. "Don't worry, he should not be an enemy." After saying this, Suku walked to the door and opened it. Immediately afterwards, a bald man in a wheelchair appeared in front of them. Behind the bald man stood a tall man. With just one glance, Suku recognized their identities: Professor X and Wolverine. Suku was not too surprised, because he had already guessed that the person who came was probably Professor X when he noticed the powerful spiritual power. After all, in the Marvel Universe, there is no one other than Professor X who possesses such powerful spiritual power. As for why Professor X came, it seems that it should be because of Wanda and Quicksilver. Because Professor X seems to have a special way to get all mutant information. Just when Suku was thinking, Professor X spoke. "Hi, I'm Charles Francis Xavier. Definitely you can also call me Professor X. This is Wolverine Logan. You must be Mr. Suku, right? Nice to meet you." Professor X smiled and introduced himself. Immediately afterwards, his eyes turned to Wanda not far away. In the next second, a voice sounded from Wanda's heart. "Hello, Wanda. Please rest assured, we have no hostility towards you. We are your kind." When Wanda heard this, a look of surprise flashed in her eyes, but she still didn't say anything. Although he had already guessed that Professor X was here for Wanda and Quicksilver, considering Professor X's attitude was not bad, Suka finally invited them in. "Welcome, please come in." Suka smiled. Immediately afterwards, Wolverine walked in pushing Professor X. After several people sat down, Suka asked straight to the point, "Tell me, what can you do with me? We're not here to look for you. We're looking for the two of them." Before Professor X could speak, Wolverine beside him spoke first. If it was a normal communication, then Suka would not be angry, but Wolverine is obviously condescending right now, and his tone of voice makes Suka very upset. Obviously, Wolverine treats Suku as an ordinary person. Suka looked at Wolverine and then slowly said, "You know, you really make me very upset." In the next second, Wolverine felt an invisible force suddenly pressing on him, causing him to kneel on the ground. All of a sudden, even the ground was smashed. "What's the situation?" Wolverine was shocked, completely confused about what happened. He tried to get up, but the invisible power on Naya's body was so strong that he couldn't get up at all. This sudden scene really made him a little at a loss. But in the next second, he suddenly saw Suka facing him with a smile on his face. Now, Wolverine finally reacted. "Yes, you did it," Wolverine said in disbelief. "You must know that before coming here, Professor X clearly said that there are only two mutants here. So he naturally thought that Suku was just an ordinary human being at the beginning. In the end, he never expected that Suku would be so powerful. He obviously didn't do anything, but he couldn't even climb up." Facing Wolverine's questioning, Suku smiled coldly. "What do you say?" Immediately afterwards, he stretched out his hand and pressed down lightly. "Ah!" With the sound of screams, Wolverine was completely crushed to the ground, and then even the surrounding ground was sunken. Chapter 60, I'm just a psychiatrist. At the moment, Wolverine only felt as if he was being crushed by a planet. Even though his bones were made of Edelman metal, they were still crushed one by one. This pain is simply unbearable. At this moment, Suka suddenly felt a wave of thoughts wanting to invade his brain. Looking back, it was Professor X. In fact, Professor X was completely overwhelmed by this sudden scene, and he didn't remember to help until Wolverine's painful screams sounded. But then, Professor X discovered something was wrong. Because of his self-proud super ability, he couldn't invade Suku's brain. That feeling is like a person floating in the endless sea, full of despair. Professor, do you know it's rude to do this? At this moment, Suku's voice sounded in Professor X's brain. At the same time, a powerful mental force erupted in an instant, causing Professor X's brain to become chaotic in an instant. For a while, Professor X almost fainted. At this moment, Professor X doubted his life. In terms of telepathy, he has never lost to anyone so far. Until now, he actually lost. And it was a complete loss. What he didn't know was that he didn't lose to a human, but to a demon. For demons, their spiritual power is as vast as the ocean, and it is simply beyond the control of a human being. Even if it is as strong as Professor X, it cannot control the mind of a demon. After waking up a little bit, Professor X's face was already extremely shocked. And at this time, Wolverine was so suppressed that he couldn't even scream. Under the strong pressure, his body was bleeding everywhere, as if he was about to die at any moment. But definitely, Suka knows that he will not die so easily. After all, this guy's self-healing ability is not covered. Stop. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded, and it was Wanda. Although Wanda didn't like Wolverine's attitude just now, it was obvious that if Suka wasn't stopped, then Wolverine might really die. And Wanda already knew the purpose of their coming here from the professor just now, so there is absolutely no need to kill them. Suku glanced at Wanda and then said to Professor X, "Since Wanda is begging for you, let's forget about today." The next second, he stretched out his hand, and Wolverine, who had been crushed into the pit before, flew up again under the control of the Force, and then hit the ground heavily. Definitely, this guy is not dead yet, and the wounds on his body are also recovering at a speed visible to the soft eye. From time to time, there was a slight sound of metal strikes. Suka knew in his heart that this was because the Iman metal in his body was repairing itself. After confirming that Wolverine was still alive, Professor X looked at Suku, but at the moment his eyes were full of shock. You must know that before coming here, he discovered through ability that there are 2 mutants here, one of which is an Omega-level mutant. For this reason, he hurried over with Wolverine, intending to bring the 2 mutants back to the Mutant Academy. But he never thought that there are not only 2 mutants here, but also another person with incredible strength. "Who are you?" Professor X asked in a trembling voice. "I'm just a psychiatrist," Suka said lightly. "Psychologist?" Upon hearing this, Professor X was instantly speechless. Because according to the information he learned before, Suku is really a psychiatrist and even helped treat the United States Captain Rogers yesterday. But having said that, how can there be such a powerful psychologist? With this kind of strength, even if Suku says he is a god, Professor X will believe it. Among other things, if he is enough to instantly kill Wolverine in his own strength, would anyone believe that he is just an ordinary psychiatrist? Suddenly at this moment, Wolverine woke up. But when she saw Suku, Wolverine looked like she was looking at a monster. The experience just now was simply a nightmare for him. He almost thought he was really going to die. That feeling frightened him more than meeting Magneto. And at this moment, Suku's eyes suddenly turned to Wolverine. "This is the first time, so I choose to forgive you. But if there is a next time, I will definitely crush all the bones in your body into powder," Suku said lightly, but his tone was full of killing intent. When Wolverine heard this, his complexion instantly became ugly, but he dared not say a word. Chapter 61 Professor, you will only lead mutant to destruction. Suka didn't continue to shoot, so Professor...
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.